perspective this. I got home yesterday after work, tired and starving. I typically get home 6:15, 6:30,
new game.
and we eat at 7 p.m. I said quick hellos and ran up for a pre-dinner shower.
Okay, give me a second there.
Okay, your mother told you the same thing as me then.
Where does no sound?
The same
Where's the music?
Okay, I understand.
What? Is there no music?
Well,
Okay, there it is.
Félicitations. Ah, mais non, ça allait. Jenna, comment on dit félicitations en anglais?
Congratulations.
Okay, congratulations on your evangelism to those people. Yeah, okay, and what happened? And what happened after? Like, did they try to?
Oh, let's censor. Oh, that's a butt. That's a butt. We got a butt. Oh boy. I know it's Miami, but do people really dress like that outside and just walk on their swimsuits?
So, hey, if you have a
I don't know.
Hi, hello.
You've taken a bold step by investing your last dime in purchasing a hotel,
But that's
hoping for a substantial return on investment as a former convict. What do you mean convict? What? This is your chance to turn your life around and make things right. However, be vigilant to avoid bankruptcy. This endeavor? What?
today's my birthday. And
This endeavor. I cannot say this word. How do you fucking say that?
Endeavor.
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 It's an effort. Ah.
Endeavor.
Just say effort. This effort.
I never celebrate my birthday.
This effort represent your final. This. I don't know if it makes sense. Final opportunity to set things straight. Let's first start with the
I
bar.
bought myself a cake in the store.
It's good bar, people. Woo! Oh wow, beautiful.
Okay. Wow. It's a beautiful day here, like it's a beautiful sunny day at last. Usually we have lots of snow and we had
Right.
cold. It was really cold.
Store.
And then, oh, yeah, it's true, I can. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna do it now. Instead of me, like I'm gonna turn around.
Manager vision. Hold
Oh, yeah,
to
okay,
access
perfect.
manager vision and easily identify task item that require attention. Nice.
Look at all that snow we got. Look at all that. Oh, okay. We had lots of snow this year. Very much snow. Yeah, we had lots of cold weather. Oh, peut-être, oui. Là, oui, à Toronto, oui, j'en ai
No service in here?
Il y
Oh
avait-
shit, I am the service.
Il y
Oh
avait
shit.
ici, en une journée,
What do I do then?
in one,
Okay, so
one day, they got snow for a month.
why are you screaming, mom?
They got the snow, the snow they received,
Okay,
the snow
open.
they received for a month, for a day, they received
Take
a
money.
month
So what
of
is that?
snow in one day. Ils ont reçu la quantité d'un mois de neige en une journée.
Open.
Incroyable. Ah oui, ils ont quand même continué de déneiger encore.
Paint the walls. Oh. Wait, do I have to move them first? Let's paint the bar walls. Yeah. So I guess I have to move those. I am really confused. Okay, vending machine. Paint the bar walls.
Mais là, Isabelle, dans les choses nécessaires, elle a-tu vu que ça prenait des fingerprints? Ah, ok. Biometrics, tu vas dire. Biometrics, c'est fingerprints. I didn't know. Oh, bio, okay. I understand.
Why did it?
Alright, okay. I don't know anything about that. My first time. So, okay, well, we'll all talk about that then. And I'm gonna ask the notary if it's necessary for the certificate to be.
Go to room
right
number
after
06, 106.
So I'm gonna ask you
Why is there? Is it because they're in NT? Oh,
But I know the government, the affair government, that they said it would be good.
store.
Okay, we'll talk about that later on, okay?
What do you mean it's dirty?
Oh, good. I'm glad to see it that way. Oh, good luck for everything. And God bless you. Oh, man, look. Hold on. I don't have any time. The time doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. Like at 4 o'clock in the morning, I could be up looking at television at 4 o'clock. I know, there's no time.
That is 101, not the one I need to go.
Condensé, oui. Oui. J'en ai même ici. J'en ai même ici.
The walls, okay. Yeah, I forgot to look on the walls. Oh, might be.
Fighter jets and the 16th Light Infantry Brigade, which includes several light infantry regiments, alongside an artillery regiment and support units like engineers and logistics. With more military units inbound, the islands are going to be fortified strongholds. If we have a ticket to go there, we 100% should take it. Not to mention, if the military is flying people out to an island fortress, it's because the mainland is done for. Later that evening, Manel watches his neighbors pack up their cars and flee the city. His own bags are already packed. The next morning, Manel loads Niccolo into his GTI and sets off to the airport. As he drives, the radio delivers even worse news. The new variant of the TSJ virus has emerged, and this one has a mutation that shortens the incubation period to just a few minutes. At the airport, he's called to his gate. Boarding's going smoothly until everybody starts getting denied entry with red beeps that would make Dennis Reynolds quiver. Phones all around him buzz with a massive civil security alert. That's not good. Engineering comes next. Panic. And that's why retention filters exist. Realizing this is about to go full-on Train to Busan, Manel does the smart thing and gets the
Train to
hell out of there.
Busan,
He bolts to his
no.
car and hits the highway back to Ponte Saavedra. Unfortunately, he's not the only one with that idea. The highway's completely jammed, stretching for miles with cars barely moving with no other option. Manel ditches his car and decides to hoof it 4 miles back home. Side note, he totally could have straightened out his car and pulled it a bit further off the road. You're kind of still blocking traffic for him. Just saying, by the time he gets back, it's late at night. One apartment complex has been completely quarantined, outfitted with what looks like a giant inflatable biohazard tunnel, guarded by soldiers with G-36s. Manel watches as the soldiers drag out what looks like a zombie Hannibal Lecter. Yeah, those are not normal human noises. Safe to say this neighborhood is done for. No way I'm crashing on the couch after seeing that shit. I'm packing my essentials and going for a sailing trip. As we've discussed, water is the ultimate defense against zombies.
Clean the
It's
room
no
number
aircraft carrier, but it beats an apartment with paper-thin walls and vulnerable windows. Plus, with a little ingenuity, he could survive a wild-off fish caught with his spear gun, collect his main water, and maybe even some of his home's solar panels to keep the essentials powered. I'll admit, ripping out a home solar system and rigging it onto a sailboat would be a disaster. Harsh marine conditions, mismatched components, limited space, and weight make it unlikely to be effective, or even feasible, but it's not really necessary. A modern fully charged phone could last 3 to 6 months if completely turned off, and you would only need the power on to send and check messages. Manel gets another call from Bella. Bad news, the airspace isn't open anytime soon thanks to the new variant. Worse news, the military is setting up mass quarantine zones to redistribute the population and control the virus. Bella warns him not to go to these zones. Apparently, her military husband has the inside info on how fully secured they
Go
are.
to lobby,
He says the Belgian
okay.
already tried it, and all their quarantine zones ended up contaminated and overrun. Her advice, shelter in place. I agree. Here's the problem. Like Belen said, quarantine zones never work. You're cramming scared, panicky people into fire festival tents surrounded by a flimsy chain link fence guarded by a few soldiers. Meanwhile, supplies like food, water, and medicine all need to be brought in. Compare that to staying at home, fully enclosed by brick walls with a locked, barricaded door, relying on your own supplies and maybe extras handed out by generous mobile military units. I know which one I would pick. Manel decides to stay put. Instead of taking action, he binge watches TikTok videos of Germans getting annihilated by zombies. Scroll, people being eaten alive in the streets. Scroll, pure chaos. Scroll, peaceful park scene. Scroll, TikTok conflicts tips. Like some dude demoing a
Oh wait, I just trashed all of those. What if I needed those? Oh no.
I think you would be better off running without the extra weight of a giant metal dog cage on your back. But, you know, I'm gonna be real disappointed if I don't see someone stuck inside one of these in the middle of a street surrounded by zombies. The next morning, after a whole night of sitting on this information, Manel finally decides to hit the
No, everything is
supermarket.
garbage.
By now, the shelves are stripped bare.
Garbage.
He manages to snag a couple of cans of dog food, which is better than nothing, I guess. On his way home, he raids a gas station convenience store, picking up a few more scraps, crackers, and random snacks. As Manel's leaving, chaos erupts around him. A bloodied cop, clutching his arm, sprints past and barricades himself inside the gas station. The scene outside is pure panic, with people scrambling in all directions. A second cop isn't so lucky. He gets tackled by a zombie and takes a deep bite to the neck. Thinking fast, Manel grabs a window washer squeegee. Dude, just run back home. Nice shot from the ground, one-handed and at 20 feet after having half your throat ripped out. Pretty impressive. Manel's just lucky that the bullet headshot at the Z didn't hit him, and that infected blood didn't splatter into his eyes. That's a lot of luck that he just burned up fast. When Manel tries to approach him, the cop fires off a warning round at his feet, then immediately tucks it under his chin. You know, if you just handed the gun over, I wouldn't be happy to do it for you. One thing's for sure, Manel should have grabbed it afterwards. It would only take a second, and that pistol will 100% save his life in the future. Unfortunately, that first cop didn't appear to still have his pistol. Shame. Could have snagged 2 pistols and potentially a spare gun or 2. Back home, Manel broadcast to everybody that someone's alive and stocked up inside. Determined attackers will hop over it with ease, and zombies probably won't be slowed down too much either. If Manel had bolted the steel crossbeams to the inside of the windows, he could have secured his biggest vulnerability while keeping the place still looking abandoned. The crossbeams would prevent the zombies from climbing through, and he could use his spear gun to skewer their heads through the gaps and safely take them out. All it would have taken were some screws or bolts, not an absurdly convenient welding setup in the garage of a lawyer's condo. That night, the military rolls into the city, rounding people up and loading them onto buses bound for a safe zone. Sure. Manel tries to stay off their radar, keeping Lucolo quiet so his spiked fortress doesn't draw attention. Naturally, it doesn't work. Soldiers arrive at his door, pop the spiked fence like it's not even there, and start pounding on the door demanding that he evacuate. Double locks holds, but the footage from his kitty cam is a wake-up call. Watching the soldiers casually bypass the spikes made one thing clear. His defense isn't half as strong as Miguel thinks. If this was a World War Z horde, or a gang of determined looters, they would rip through it in minutes. 2 weeks later, the neighborhood's completely abandoned. Manel's supplies are running low, and the cell signal's dead. It's just him, Lucolo, and the growing realization that what little he snagged from the supermarket's not gonna last much longer.
love you,
At least his
Bubba.
apartment has solar panels and batteries, though.
You
But as
fluffy
useful
boy.
as electricity is, you can't eat it.
Don't drop. No,
While taking
stop.
inventory, his eyes land on two things.
Not my water.
His wetsuit and his spear gun. He ain't going fishing. He's planning on suiting up and running around to the neighborhood looking for Cheez-Its. Yeah, a neoprene wetsuit is not fight-proof. Let me just get that out of the way right now. What it is restrictive, heavy, hot, and dramatically slows you down, especially with those thick boots. Sure, it might stop some scratches or light bites, but the trade-off for mobility is severe. Jeans and a hoodie reinforced with a layer of padding and duct tape around your arms, legs, and neck, paired with shades for eye protection and gloves would offer better protection while still keeping you mobile enough to run, fight, or parkour. Manel's pneumatic spear gun is also far from ideal. It's a single-shot weapon with a range of about 10 to 15 feet at best, and a awkward, long reload. You have to insert a spear bolt
Your
into the
claw
front
is still
and ram
stuck,
it down the
isn't it?
barrel to cock it. It's like a musket.
stuck
Against
anymore.
multiple zombies, you would be lucky to fire one clean shot, let alone reload in time for a second. Even if you do hit a zombie, the spear gun's not guaranteed to stop it unless you strike something critical, like the brain or heart. Anywhere else in the narrow puncture wound's unlikely to stop the zombie or even slow it down. Manel really needs to at least have a knife as a backup in case he gets tackled or swarmed by more than one zombie. Most importantly, Manel needs to grab that dead cop's pistol back at the gas station. The Spanish police use a 9mm Heckler & Koch USP with 15 rounds in the mag. A single 9mm hollow point round is vastly more effective than the spear gun bolt. Hollow points expand on impact, causing maximum tissue damage, and have a much better chance to immediately incapacitate threats with each round. It's got far better range, reliability, rapid follow-up shots, capacity, and lethality. The only real downside is how loud it is, and the potentially drawing more unwanted attention. Though, with the evacuation massively reducing the neighborhood population, I don't think that we would alert the horde. More like a stray
Did dirt
Z
just
or
appear
two,
there, or-
easily handled
just
by
missed it.
Glock perfection. Manel gears up in his scuba suit. Armed with his spear gun, he begins scavenging the neighboring apartments for food. Looks like his
Can
luck
do
is
nothing,
running out.
I don't
Almost
understand,
every
it's just
house is
asking for
bone
food.
dry. Not a single Cheez-It in this whole neighborhood. Manel breaks into another house and nearly harpoons an old wheelchair grandma to the wall. While she doesn't have any extra food stockpiles, she's not completely worthless. See, years of being a nosy neighbor might finally pay off. She'll sit by the window sipping tea and
You're
looking
so
out on
cute.
the neighbors that are most likely to have hoarded food. And Manel will risk his life fighting zombies in the streets and ransacking hopefully abandoned homes. Tell you what, Granny's only gonna be eating my leftover scraps, which ain't gonna be much. The first house that they checked only has 2 cans of peas. That's it. Not exactly a jackpot. On the bright side, one of the houses has a dirt bike. Cool, but loud.
go on
Personally,
the
I would
chair.
stick with
Thank
a
you.
bicycle. Silent and fast enough.
Ah,
Don't get me wrong,
no, no, no,
I
no,
say you
no.
still take it. Just
Go on,
save
my
the
friend.
gas for when you need to make a run further away. Manel spends the next few hours scavenging,
Love
filling
you.
his bag with random leftovers. When he gets back, he dumps it out on the table like a kid dumping out a Halloween bag. Except instead of delicious candy, it's mostly junk that'll barely last a few days. Dude, there's no way he's the back cleaned out. Did he even check the freezers? There's always some old frozen chicken patties in the freezer that nobody wants. The highlight from his neighbor's pantry haul is a little tight walkie-talkie. So now he can give Gabriella field sit reps, not seeing the fortune. It's not like she's gonna come to your rescue if you get cornered by a few zombies. Manel's got one last ditch idea. That first house that was quarantined with the Hannibal Lecter zombie, thinking that the tenant turned into a zombie early enough that all his food was completely untouched, and that no neighbors would likely barge in when it's contaminated and taped off.
Sorry.
Well, except for that guy. Manel, maybe chill with the inaccurate quick draws on your spear gun. You only have one shot and no knife. If that was a zombie, you would have missed, and it would be leaping over the couch at you right now. With that spear gun, you gotta wait till you see the whites of their eyes. Serendipitously, the spear bolt impaled some secret under-the-stairs pantry that's filled with assorted canned goods. Well, it's clearly portrayed as a lucky coincidence that Manel wouldn't have found it if he hadn't fired that shot, which is pretty stupid, because that means that Manel's been
Go to lobby and use
obvious
the
food
laptop.
stash spots this entire time. That night, Manel and
Which is a bed
Gabriella
and a toilet.
enjoy his hard-earned feast under candlelight. Just a shame that he's not sharing it with Julia. She was way hotter. The next morning, Gabriella radios Manel on the walkie-talkie, telling him to turn on the radio. A broadcast is playing, instructing survivors to head to the Arusa estuary, where large ships are supposedly ferrying survivors to the Canary Islands, the same place
Out of
Belle and
stuff?
her family were evacuated to thanks to her husband's military connections. The estuary is only about a 45-minute drive from Pontevedra. At this point, you might wonder, why bother with the estuary at all? Why not just skip the drive and sail directly to the Canary Islands himself using his 20-footer? Here's why that claim wouldn't work. The Canary Islands are 800 nautical miles away. I say Manel goes back to Gabriella's, backs up all the food that he procured, hops on his dirt bike, and gives this estuary situation a scout. What? We can't take her. She's in a wheelchair. It's not gonna fit. And besides, Lucalo already called the back seat. It's a moot point anyway because she's already tucked herself in for that long nap. Manel's acting sad, but not that deep down. He's really just glad that she saved him from looking like an asshole. Sure, he could have wheeled her a couple miles down to the dock and sailed up to the estuary on his boat, but that would be crazy risky.
You've just
and
made
not
your
at all
first
worth her
purchase
dead weight.
from the
On
market.
his way back to
Your
his
order will
apartment,
be
Manel gets blindsided by a
delivered in a couple of in-game hours. Keep track of the delivery progress through the market app on your laptop. Remember, you can expedite the delivery time by opening by option for premium service at an additional cost. I'm good. I am not that crazy of making it super fast.
Millions d'amis, épisode des années 90.
What is that? Hello? Hello? Ah, ça existe plus.
Oh, oui, on envoie des épisodes, là. J'ai tombé dessus, j'ai tombé sur des épisodes 30 millions d'amis, 95 à l'an 2000. Je l'avais, là. Sais-tu lequel que je
Eh oui, là, l'oiseau.
Ouais. Parce que là, qu'est-ce qui arrive? Je suis en train de jeter mes cassettes, mais là, c'est pas, là, faut que je sois sûr de pas jeter ces cassettes-là. Là. 30 animaux dans l'enfer de... Voyons, c'est fascinant, ça. Je l'avais, tout à l'heure, je le voyais. Dans des épisodes entre 95 et 2000.
Games, go to the back side of the hotel. Da-da-da.
30 millions d'amis, épisode 95. Ah! Ouais, c'était ça là. C'était ça. Il y a 10 ans. C'est quoi, c'est 30 ans. Ça fait 30 ans. Ok, bon. Millions d'amis, il a 30 ans. Millions d'amis, année 96.
You have completed your first room. Now you can welcome guests. Remember, enchanting your room leads to greater income. After each guest, tidy up
30
the
millions
space
d'amis,
and
oiseau
elevate
qui imite un chat.
its worth by adding valuable item and better furniture. A well-kept room equals higher income.
30 millions d'amis, oiseau noir qui imite un chat.
Go to computer.
Ah! 30 millions d'amis avec oiseau imitateur. C'est exactement ça.
Ninja zombie. He's lucky it's just the one.
Kind of forgot
If
what I
there
was
had
trying
been
to get.
two, his story would have ended right here, especially with no pistol or knife. The fight's a mess. He manages a double kick, gets his leg swiped, slams her through a door, and finally smashes
open
her
the
face into
hotel,
a window
yeah,
before
but
finishing the job
my
with a
hotel?
harpoon shot.
Open hotel.
Cool. Still rattled, Manel makes it home, pours himself a drink, and steals his nerves for the next step. The estuary plan's gonna be risky, but it's the best option that he has left. He hops on his dirt bike, saddles Lupolo, and sets off. Eventually, he hits a highway military roadblock next to one of those safe zones that's been completely overrun. The abandoned roadblock comes complete with a medic truck full of strewn supplies, a Greyhound recon tank outfitted with a 30 cal and 50 caliber machine gun, and what looks like a few armored personnel carriers behind them. Instead of stopping to peruse all these for supplies and mount one of those 30 cals to his dirt bike, or simply moving the gate to stay on the safer main road, Manel turns back the way he came in order to take a detour off into the woods. Bad call. The roads so far have been completely clear, and the military checkpoint was set up facing the direction that he came from, indicating that the direction that Manel was traveling to was likely safer than where he came from. The forest detour is significantly more dangerous. Shorter sight lines, less maneuvering space, fewer predictable escape routes, more unknowns, and he has to go way slower. If he crashes, if a zombie grabs his backpack, or if debris blocks his path while he's getting chased, it's game over. Worse, it's right next to the overrun safe zone, meaning infected are likely nearby. In the apocalypse, you don't do shortcuts. You take the long, safe way. As expected, the forest is full of zombies. To make matters worse, he stumbles into a campground. And you know what Manel decides to do? Drive right through the middle of it, of course. As expected, the campground is full of zombies. And as expected, he crashes the bike while getting chased. Uh-oh. To make matters worse, it ain't starting back up, forcing him to ditch the bike and make a run for it on foot, up a dirt trail hill, in a wetsuit and heavy boots, with a backpack full of supplies, holding his cat while getting chased by raged-out sprinting zombies. Yeah, that's not happening. In reality, he's getting run down and dogpiled. Through the power of plot, he manages to stay ahead of the horde and pop out of the forest right next to the dock where his boat is. I don't know, maybe he ran these trails a bunch in the past. Luckily, the first door to the dock is already open and automatically locks behind him. This buys Manel just enough time to spend 5 agonizing minutes fumbling with his keys to unlock the second door. No way would I waste time getting into my backpack with the dock keys in a situation like this. And
That's funny.
honestly, the second door isn't even that tall. He could have just gone the cat carrier over and climbed it himself. It would have been much faster and safer. If the zombies had been even a second quicker, he would have been dead. It's a good thing that they're too stupid to climb things. Worst case scenario, just jump off into the water. Again, like I said, the zombies are too spazzy to swim. Then you can just butterfly over to the boats. Once inside, Manel raids the dock store and manages to find more spear bolts. It's a small win, but it doesn't fix the bigger problem. All the good boats are gone, including his. All except for 2. Question is, why were these boats left behind? Also, the boat won't turn on. I mean, the zombie baby situation's easily solvable.
Excuse me, what are you doing? That's how I roll.
At least the rib right next to it still runs, so he begins heading up towards the estuary. Before he can reach it, Manel is intercepted by another boat. A small group of 3 men, all armed with automatic weapons and speaking Russian. I'm not getting a good feeling about this rescue team. It's not the guns, nor them speaking Russian. It's that guy in the back smiling while Manel's being held at gunpoint. I'm trying to survive, you sick. And you're somehow taking pleasure in all this? The obvious bad guys take him aboard their ship and generously provide him with a room to crash at for the night. The next morning, he's brought in front of the captain and told to point on a map where they can find various resources and supplies. Clearly the part where you prove that you're useful, or end up at the bottom of the ocean. The captain, Ushakov, interrogates Manel, asking what he does for a living in Russian. Manel's response, lawyer. Not smart. A lawyer in an apocalypse has precisely 0 value, especially to men like these. If it weren't for his translator, Victor, changing his response to engineer, Manel would have been in deep. I'd have lied and told them that I was in the Spanish military. Far more useful skills for their operation. And hey, maybe they'd give me a gun. Victor escorts Manel back to his quarters and shares a bit about himself. He claims to be a Ukrainian firefighting helicopter pilot who just happened to be in Vigo to see its famous Christmas lights when the outbreak hit. Nice story, but it doesn't quite add up. What are the odds that if firefighting
This is a girl
pilots
hotel for now. I'm
conveniently end up
sorry.
stuck
I'm
on a
looking
ship
at she's
full of Russian mobster types? Press X to doubt. Victor even claims Manel's the first survivor that they found, which is hard to believe, especially since Manel's quarters have a window window overlooking the water, where he can clearly see a raft of survivors floating up to the ship. 2 survivors in the first night, and you expect me to believe that no one else has shown up since the whole pandemic blacked off. Right. Adding to the suspicion, there's a notable lack of women on board. Whether they were never allowed on or something worse is going on, it's obvious that we need to get the hell off this ship. The next morning, Manel gets some food and talks to Victor again, who now has fresh bruises on his face. When Manel asks about the raft of survivors, Victor tells him that no one came on board last night. Then, with a subtle nod, he warns Manel to keep quiet. It's clear that Victor's walking a fine line between helping Manel and staying alive himself. On his way out, he sees a boat being ransacked. Its former occupants nowhere in sight. It's obvious by now that this crew doesn't do mercy, and Manel's not gonna last long here. Not with a conscience anyway, and definitely not while playing a role that he can't back up. He's a tool, and once he's outlived his usefulness, he's expendable. If he wants any chance of surviving, he needs to ditch this wreck ASAP and take his chances on land. In a bid to escape, Manel mentions to Victor that there's a helicopter at the Hospital Mexuero on the outskirts of Pontevedra. He suggests that they could take it and Victor could fly them to the Canaries. Bold plan, but what makes him so sure that the helicopter's even there? And even if it is, there's no telling if it's operational, or if Victor would know how to start it up and fly that specific type of helicopter. Besides, going to a hospital, ground zero
What am I
for
supposed
the
to do?
outbreak is pure
What?
madness. You need to leave this ship, sure, but that doesn't mean you need to head straight to
What
a
do I
zombie
do?
hotspot and open a wish. That night, Manel suits up for his escape. Instead of making a clean break, he decides to descend into the lower decks to free the other survivors first. I'm sorry, but this is a terrible idea. You have no clue what the guards will do if they catch you. Well, you do. And attempting to hurt a group of
Interact?
panicked, noisy, and likely wounded survivors up to the deck is just begging to be spotted and gunned down. There's no way that this ends well. A smarter move would be to scope things out first. Slip down in your pajamas. Pretend that you're stretching your legs or getting some fresh air. That way, if you're caught, you can play it off. You know, it's the whole, I was just looking for the bathroom trick. And, as expected, things go up. One of the survivors immediately starts yelling. Imagine having zero survival intuition. At this point, I say we harpoon this guy ourselves.
Did I not buy it?
Well, that works too. Sure enough,
Never
they
mind.
get caught. Just as things are about to go sideways, Victor steps in to de-escalate the situation. The guard, for reasons unknown, telegraphs his intention to shoot Manel by dramatically pausing and making a loud thump noise with his gun, which gives Victor just enough time to leap into action, disarming the guard and choking him out with a rope. Meanwhile, Manel stands there like a bystander in his own escape plan. Bro, do something. Go for the gun. Grab the spear gun. Anything. Shots have already been fired, which means the clock is ticking. People heard that, and they're coming. You need to move and be ready for when reinforcements arrive. I say go for that orange barrel on the deck that they were passing out guns from earlier. Maybe we get lucky and make out with a bunch of automatic rifles. Of course, this idea never occurs to them. The 3 of them manage to make it topside and sneak aboard one of the spare boats. But of course, things don't go smoothly. The dude that they freed gets mowed down almost immediately. Hey, better him than us. Somehow, despite having the high ground and automatic weapons, the 2 guards firing on them fail to kill everyone on the boat.
Oh, I get it now.
Victor takes a
Okay,
hit
I
to the
see.
shoulder while wildly mag dumping the Uzi. And miraculously, the boat, despite taking what seems like 60 bullet holes, doesn't sink. I guess they were close enough to
Okay.
be able to limp there without filling with water. Once ashore, they stumble upon a campground.
Should make it
with a handful of
closer to
vehicles. The only one in working condition, naturally, is already occupied. Good thing Manel brought along his trusty AutoCheck 9000. Finally, they arrive at the hospital, only to find, surprise, no helicopter. What they do find is a swarm of zombies. Not sure how Manel managed to hit anything with that spray and pray Uzi action. Somehow he smoked 5 zombies with whatever was left in the mag after Victor dumped half of it back on the boat. Personally, I'd have gone for a different approach. Maybe run them over first or pull a quick U-turn to put some distance between us and the horde. But then Manel drops the Uzi, just drops
go to
it,
the number
as
2.
if there's no conceivable way that he might come across 9mm ammo ever again. A baffling choice, considering the most common sidearm in the Spanish police service fires a 9mm. Any dead zombie cop could have been carrying spare ammo, but what's done is done. That chaotic display of noise has definitely attracted more unwanted attention, so it's time to move. And their next move? Instead of scouting for safer options, they decide to enter the hospital, the place that almost certainly housed hundreds, if not thousands of infected people, and probably still does. No doctors, no nurses, no helicopter, just zombies. So why are we here? Oh, right.
Oh,
Some
nice.
convenient plot device. Thank goodness Manel brought
You've given a key to some.
Didn't we have a secret
No.
earlier? What happened to that? Meanwhile, Victor, clearly worse for wear, insists Manel take the bullet out of his shoulder. Okay, with what? How? This whole place is infested and unsecure. A group of zombies could walk in at any time.
Okay.
With no helicopter in sight, you have to wonder if this is the best use of their time, of Manel's time. Maybe we just ditch Victor and escape on our own. And then, because why not, Manel lets his cat out of the bag. Great. I can't wait to see you chasing Luclo around the entire hospital while dodging Zeds. While poking around the hospital, Manel hears the faint sound of children through the vent. Naturally, he tries to talk to them. Apparently, there's a couple adults up there too, and they're holed up on a safe floor. Manel barely gets off his sit rep before he's ambushed by a zombie. He kicks out its leg, dives behind a nearby counter, and why not just spear it right after the leg sweep? That extra gymnastics routine was completely unnecessary. The noise draws more infected to his location, forcing him to sprint through the hospital's maze of halls, somehow managing not to get lost. He eventually makes it back to the operating room where Victor was and slams the door shut. Luck is on his side once again. The door has double handles and just so happens to have
it's
metal
clean?
bars lying on a tray right next to it that he's able to jam them with. A close call, but now Victor and the cat are nowhere to be seen, which is totally a problem. Out of options, Manel hears a voice calling to him from a small pass-through door, probably an equipment transfer hatch common in operating rooms. I don't know what I'm talking about though. A woman urges him to climb through, and they narrowly escape as the horde busts into the operating room. Let's be real. If these people didn't know the layout and weren't actively trying to help, Manel and Victor would have been This wasn't survival skill. It was sheer unfiltered luck. Once safely upstairs, Manel meets the new crew. A nurse named Lucia and a surgeon nun named Cecilia, who immediately gets to work on Victor's shoulder. Wow, more luck. Lucia explains to Manel that the helicopter that they were looking for isn't gone after all. It's parked out back. The problem is that the only way to safely get there is through the underground tunnels beneath the boilers. Oh, and a recent explosion down there may have made the path impassable. Cecilia delivers more bad news. They're nearly out of food too. But wait, there's more. The Russians are here. Wait, how did they know Victor and Manel were here? Or was this supposed to be coincidental, that they needed more band-aids at the same time that Manel and Victor were here? I mean, Manel never said anything about a hospital nor helicopter. I suppose that they thought they might have hit Victor and figured Manel would take him to the hospital for treatment. Makes sense, right? Except for the part where the hospital is, closed and crawling with zombies. Why are they so obsessed with the Victor anyway? For all they know,
Who, the
he could've
Victor?
bled out from a critical hit hours ago.
I wonder.
Risking their lives to track him down.
I'm not selling anything right now. I'm sorry.
There's no guarantee that he's even alive. I say just hide and wait for the Russians to give up and leave. Except there's one problem.
Oh,
Manel dropped the
please
Uzi
give
right
me
next
what I
to their
need.
abandoned
Amazon
car. The car
packaging.
alone isn't definitive evidence that Manel, Victor, or anyone else alive is still inside
Bring
the
down
hospital.
your drone,
Anyone could've left
Abby.
that vehicle behind. The Uzi, though, that's a dead giveaway. And really, what kind of idiot would drop a perfectly good Uzi? Only a zombie would do something that stupid. With the Uzi sitting there, it's obvious to the Russians that Manel and Victor could still be inside, meaning that they're gonna need a better hiding spot. The underground tunnels are the logical choice. Manel rushes back to the group and warns them. They agree to head for the tunnels, but here's where they mess up. They think that they need to beat the Russians to the helicopter, but why? Victor should know if the Russians even have another helicopter pilot. It's doubtful that they do, and if they did, it's also doubtful that that pilot would be part of this raid, especially if the Russians didn't know about the medevac helicopter
There's
in
a
the first
limit,
place,
right?
which they wouldn't. Realistically, they don't have much use for the chopper anyway.
there's
They've
no
got a solid
limit?
operation
What?
going on their ship.
That's a
Trying to
world!
integrate with
I
the
can go
military
around.
in the Canary Islands seems unlikely
Aw.
at best. Then there's the issue of the helicopter startup time. Helicopters don't fire up like a car. This one's likely to be
That's so
sitting cold
cute.
for a while. In emergency situations, the absolute fastest that you're looking at is about 5 minutes if you've got a trained pilot who knows the controls. That includes a quick engine warm-up to prevent catastrophic failure and bare minimum pre-flight checks. More realistically, you're looking at closer to 10 minutes. That's 10 minutes of the engine roaring to life, rotors spooling up, and all the zombies in the area screeching like wild hogs. It's also 10 minutes for the Russians to figure out where you are and storm the pad before you can take off. In short, it's
Where's
a
the bar?
noisy, time-consuming
Bar,
process
bar,
that's
this
more
way.
likely to end with you all dead than flying off into the sunset. Again, I say we wait for them to leave, then try to take the chopper. Sure, the Russians could attempt to disable the helicopter temporarily by removing key components, but it's still not worth the risk of trying to front run them. Manel's crew continues on through the tunnels until they run into a jammed door, which Lucia starts whacking away at with the axe. Manel really needs to have that spear gun at the ready, and everyone else
What is that
far back.
smoking?
This
What?
is an
Smoke
unclear,
vending machine.
potentially zombie-infested tunnel, and if
coffee
there's a zombie
vending
on the other
machine.
side,
Okay,
it's
okay,
sure
okay,
gonna
I
be
see, I
about all
see.
that banging. Poor Cecilia.
What
You
do I
know
do?
she thought that she was the safest in the back of the group. Lucia
Open.
steps up and slices the zombie spine clean. Cecilia knows what's coming and does the honorable thing, quietly walking off to die alone in a dark corner. The next obstacle is even worse. A chain
don't
link
know.
fence splitting the room with the door at the far
Cocktail
side that they need to
preparation
get through. Unfortunately, the other
station.
side is full of zombies. Lucia suspects that the door might be locked from the outside,
Oh,
so Manel moves up to cover her with his spear gun. Yeah, not the best idea. You fire
I
that
don't
thing,
have what
and
I
the entire
need. I
horde is
don't-
gonna swarm you. What's the plan then, Manel?
I
Take
don't
on a
have
dozen
what-
zombies while reloading your single-shot spear gun? He should have stayed back, holding the first door open to ensure a clear retreat route should things go horribly wrong. I mean, who's to say that door number 2 doesn't have a zombie behind it as well? Lucia finally gets the door open, and the kids start filing through one by one. But of course, the last kid freezes, staring at the horde on the other side of the fence. Among the zombies, she spots her mom. When the kid gasps, a peeping Tom zombie locks onto the group. Thankfully, Victor pulls the kid down and clamps her mouth shut before she can scream or get spotted. Honestly, he should have yanked her back the second she stopped moving and started staring. Nothing good was ever gonna come from that. Manel quickly pulls back to secure the kid, keeping her calm while Victor makes his escape through the door. With the group safely through, it's now down to just Manel and the kid. Unfortunately, the peeping zombie catches them. Manel rushes the kid into a nearby storage cabinet, conveniently large enough for the both of them and somehow completely empty. It works, for now, as the zombies swarm the cabinet, clawing and snarling just outside. They're safe, but now they're stuck. Miraculously, the cabinet ends up riddled with bullet holes, yet Manel and the kid somehow emerge completely unscathed. Not even a graze. As the dust settles, the Russians begin sweeping the area. Yep, they're checking the bodies to see if Victor or Manel are among them. If they found that operator
Ma, you okay?
or noticed evidence of a removed bullet, they'll definitely know that Victor is still alive, hiding somewhere with other survivors. Then again, it's also possible that Manel's group has already slipped out of the hospital entirely, holed up somewhere else, like a nearby convenience store. Meaning, the Russians could still give up their search anytime now. Pushing forward, Manel and his group finally reach the door leading to the helicopter. Except the landing pad is swarming with zombies. The obvious move? Wait for the Russians to clear the area while searching for Victor, and then take the chopper once they've moved on.
Okay.
Instead, they decide to take matters into their own hands. And Manel's big plan, a ball wagon phalanx. No roof, porous walls, held together by cloth straps against an entire horde. The group's weapons include a fire extinguisher, an axe, and Manel's trusty spear gun with like 3 bolts. Really? Forget the fire extinguisher. Grab a pipe, crowbar, or literally anything capable of dealing actual damage. Here's a better alternative. Climb on top of these cargo containers, traverse to the interior of the fence, and low crawl next to the concrete barriers toward the gate. Make sure the gate's secured, and then buy Victor enough time to get the helicopter started. But nope, they roll with the wagon plan. Predictably, the wagon hits a piece of debris, which causes the zombies to finally notice them. And just like in All
Said it
of
was
Us Are
just for
Dead,
girls.
the situation becomes grim very quickly. Wait. A wheel bumping into some debris is what gets the zombies' attention. Not the loud squeaking wheels, the rattling cage, or a big group of people crammed into a giant steel building. In the middle of the courtyard, dude, these zombies are napping. Against all odds, no one gets bit or killed, and they somehow make it to the helipad. The gate, of course, is padlocked. Thankfully, Alicia steps over the glass, squeak broke a bit. Squeezes through, slams the door shut, and even manages to clean the back without getting her fingers scratched. Victor and Alicia begin scrambling to the helicopter while Manel stays behind, using the last puff of his fire extinguisher to hold off the advancing horde. As zombies begin swarming and climbing onto the helicopter, Manel does the unthinkable. He jumps out like Leonidas, taking the fight directly to the zombies. Meanwhile, Victor frantically hotwires the chopper, connecting wires up to the
Why not have it like tinier?
get it running, just when it looks like they might actually make it. At this
Huh?
point, it looks like game over, but immediately kill Manel. They hesitate just long enough for Manel to swing his axe and back in front of zombies.
Oh.
I'm just thinking how awkward it would have been if the next step. Imagine swinging that axe and just crickets as the Russians turn the firing squad on him. For Manel, busting on the first try. The Russians hold their ground just long enough to take out the zombies before being overrun themselves. Manel then shoves open the gate that he was hiding behind and chops up the remaining stragglers. Jesus, that's some Spence knowledge. It's here I thought Manel was a simple lawyer. I expected him to jump into the helicopter with James Bond swinging onto the side of the edge. No, he climbs up and swings. Instead, he ends up acting after that Spartacus scene. Whatever. Manel finally makes it on board, but there's one big problem. In all that fighting, he got bit. Just kidding. Everyone makes it out alive. Just as everybody's getting ready to make it's a Bella, running him down to the target areas, right as a pair of Eurofighter Typhoon jets scream past them. While the Typhoon isn't a nuclear-capable aircraft, a pair of them can still carry enough munitions to ignite any infested safe zones to the 2 force per aircraft. So now the big question here, is out of the picture, where do they go from here? Prioritizing animals is never the source of this. Known as briefly the last shot of survival, but there is probably the most realistic and safest option. It's close enough to be within helicopter range, isolated enough to avoid major outbreaks, and large enough to offer resources for survival. Ultimately, while Manel made some questionable decisions and relied heavily on luck, he has survived so far. It looks like we'll have to wait for the sequel to definitively say whether or not to survive the TSJ virus. More local story across the Russian communities.
What?
Lui, ça n'a jamais été pour l'argent, il est pas maniaque à l'argent. Il était gouverneur de Californie, il n'avait même pas de salaire, il a refusé le salaire d'être gouverneur de la Californie.
If you found an abandoned mall in the middle of a zombie apocalypse,
What are you
what
talking?
would you do? In this How to Beat video, we'll follow the
I'm
survivors,
lost.
see if we can make better decisions,
I'm lost.
ultimately attempt to beat the zombie hordes in Dawn of the Dead.
I don't know what you're talking
Think of a
about.
better way, let me know in the comments.
I don't
If you like these
know.
How to Beat videos,
I don't know.
consider subscribing. We start out following
No,
Nurse
Mom, I
Andy,
don't
talking to a
know.
doctor about a
Yeah.
man who, for some reason, needed to have an X-ray when he
It's
was
really
bitten
not
on
something
the
like,
hand.
I don't know.
finds her husband drinking beer and watching TV. It seems like movie characters always find a way to miss the emergency news, but back in 2004, nobody had iPhones. If the alert was only being broadcasted on your TV, there's a good chance you're gonna miss it. Find out there's an apocalypse the hard way. Lewis wakes up to that rollerblader girl standing in the bedroom doorway. Who the hell is that nonchalant about waking up to a random neighbor child standing in their bedroom? I'd be on full alert self-defense mode. Call an ambulance.
Yeah.
Talk about going 0 to 100 real quick. You were just waking up from your peaceful slumber and bam, some psycho child broke into your house, ripped your husband's neck out with her teeth, and now he's bleeding out on your bed seconds away from death. This clarifies the saying, police are minutes away when seconds count. Time to clock back in, Nurse Anna. Looks like his carotid artery was ripped open, meaning he has seconds before losing consciousness. He'll be dead in a few minutes. There's really nothing she can do, especially since it was torn open by a bite.
No!
And it got super lucky.
Don't be here!
His grasp, grabbed the
Told
keys,
you a million
dived into the
times.
bathroom,
Don't be there,
door,
please.
knocked
Get
herself
off.
unconscious by banging her head off
My
the
fries
bathroom.
are even there.
Having a
You
window
almost step on
was
them.
also super lucky.
I
Had that
know.
been a windowless bathroom, Anna's side of this story would be over.
Dishwasher soon.
Stupid as this was, I can't 100% fault her for it. She just had her entire reality flipped upside down and smashed into pieces within a second. It's not hard to imagine that her mind might attempt to return to normalcy considering how unreal the situation is. Anna narrowly escapes through the window by blindly back-kicking Lewis in the head. I guess adrenaline turns you into a Krav
Nice.
Maga parkour expert. Judging by the truck in the driveway, Lewis was probably a lineman who worked similar late shifts, so I partially rescind my judgment about his morning drinking. See, some of you guys think I'd be more likely to survive in these situations, but this type of overthinking would get me killed way too often. Pretty much everything is smooth as far as you can see. Explosions, military helicopters, everyone attacking each other. Anna manages to not fumble and drop the keys when getting into her car, which is impressive considering your fine motor skills are going to be severely impaired. She finally gets the emergency radio broadcast. They're providing instructions for evacuation centers. Yeah, the government set up evacuation centers in a few hours. Bullshit. Realistically, they just tell everyone to shelter in place.
What?
A reasonable thing to do, but not for Anna anymore. At least she doesn't live in that nearby city. So all this chaos just happened to you. You're sitting in your car and the radio is dispersing copium about an evacuation center that is surely overrun. Where do you go? What do you do? Well, I definitely would not be stopping for anything or anyone. The car is the only thing between you and death right now. It's a good thing she's driving a Toyota Corolla, which is a very reliable car. Apocalypse approved. She lives in a suburban area near Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Since Anna has no family and her house is compromised, I'd say heading to the Horicon National Wildlife Area, which is 60 miles away, would be a good idea. The onset of the apocalypse was extremely fast. Too fast for an evacuation to commence. The local on-ramps and highways should still be accessible. She should have enough gas to get to Horicon, but remember, 55 to 65 miles per hour is the sweet spot for fuel efficiency. You do not want to have to get out and start pumping gas right now. There will be far less people there, and you can band up with hunters and fishers in the area to hold out and obtain food. The riskiest part is making it to the highway and getting there without someone crashing into you or shooting you to steal your car. Stopping your car with zombies and people all around you and keeping your doors unlocked probably was not the smartest move. Hope you find a good Samaritan or someone else who did the same dumb shit you did so you can jack their car. I love how reporters are always continuing to try to cover the disasters, even when it's indisputably clear that it's the apocalypse. Nobody's watching TV anymore, and they need to put the camera down and save themselves. Anna wakes up after getting knocked unconscious by the airbag.
Mom, are you okay?
Moi, des patients dans leur. Ils ont des tops vidéo de sirènes qui appuient sur le dos.
Okay.
I like this guy, but he should have already pumped the shotgun. He either didn't have a round in the chamber, or he just pumped out a fresh round for no reason. Kenneth and Anna run into some other survivors who open fire on them. This is why you want to get away from other people. The shooter just gave away their position to all the zombies in at least a half-a-mile radius. He's jumpy, trigger-happy, and inaccurate. Not the kind of person I want to be traveling with. I'd also grab that bike in the background. You can go 2 to 3 times as fast as if you were running, and with far less energy. Trying to run away from an uninhibited sprinting zombie is pretty much impossible. The shooter's girl is also pregnant, which is 100% going to be an issue. The group mentions that they're headed to the nearby mall. The YouTube channel Zombie Survival Labs has a great video on the pros and cons of holding up in a mall in a zombie apocalypse. Basically, malls are terrible because they're amazing. You have food, supplies, space, open vantage points, security, and food and supplies in nearby shops. The problem is that everyone will be going there or is already there. And the chances that you will have first dibs on it and be able to secure it before either zombies or other survivors come busting in is slim to none. Our protagonists are on foot and surrounded, so they don't really have much of an option. At minimum, getting off of ground level will enable them to survive for now. Obviously, the first priority is to assess the security of the place and whether or not it's defensible. It's also probably a good idea to wash the blood off of your hands and face. You don't want to subconsciously itch your eye with zombie blood on your fingers. The window doors are not good, but as long as they're locked, it should give you time to reinforce them. Like we saw with Anna in the beginning, the zombies are only going to break in if they need to get in there. They need to get into the security office to obtain the keys so they can lock the doors while picking up weapons along the way. Unfortunately, there's no gun store in this mall. In the movie, they get pretty lucky that all the doors are already locked. If not, Andre would have been in trouble. This was pure luck, and without going for the keys, they could not have ensured that the doors were locked. Once you have the keys, grab a map of the building layout or snag a fire tornado map to locate where the entrances are. If there's only one set of keys, you'll need to stay together. But if there are multiple sets of keys, I'd suggest splitting up into groups of 2. Kenneth and Anna, Andre and Michael, and then have Luda hide out in a gated shop. It'd also be good to grab some walkie-talkies so you can communicate with each other when splitting up to lock the entrances. Splitting up is important because covering ground quickly is a priority. Zombies are everywhere, and if they make it inside, it's game over no matter what. 2-person groups are important because 2 people can overcome a rogue zombie much more effectively than by themselves. The entire time, I'd be keeping a backup escape route in my mind, though there aren't many options. If a group of zombies burst into the store from anywhere, they would only be able to shoot a handful of them. They don't know the layout well, so they can't risk running into a dead end. And with a pregnant wife, they can't run far or fast. If they need to run, their only options are to hunker into a nearby store and drop the security gate, which only helps them survive that moment, but long term they're still dead. Locking all the entrances quickly is their only chance. Once all the entrances are locked up, you need to turn the window doors into cover and concealment. Concealment so they don't see you inside, and cover to prevent them from breaking in if they do. Painting or taping up curtains would be a quick way to block the windows. After blocking the windows, you'll have some breathing room, which you can use to ensure there aren't zombies inside the mall. I'd go room by room, sector by sector, and clear the entire mall of zombies. It's not a huge mall, so it shouldn't take too long. Making a loud noise to bait zombies into the open isn't a bad tactic. Still need to make sure a ninja zombie is not lurking in the bathroom stall. Once the building's secure, then you can spend more time reinforcing and barricading the door. I'd find bicycle locks or chains to wrap around the door handles, then use any wood or metal to place over the doors or windows. Then build in braces that push up against it. Next, start bringing food, water, ammo, medical, and other necessary gear to the rooftop. Ideally, you want to move everything you need to the roof. Water is going to be the most immediate issue, so setting up rain catchers on the roof is a good idea. Rainwater is pretty safe to drink, but you can boil it if you want to be sure. They should also collect as much water from faucets as they can electricity and pumps go out. There should be a good supply of bottled water in the mall too, so they should have enough water to avoid going Bear Grylls mode. Not that that's an effective survival tactic anyway. The rooftop is basically their Alamo. There's only a couple entrances and the doors are made of steel. These are boots on the ground zombozos. They aren't doing any wall climbing stuff like in World War Z, so we don't have to worry about that. It's the most secure defensible location they have. The rooftop also provides more escape options. You can rope or ladder down from any side of the building. Evac choppers can spot you and pick you up. Your radios and SOS signals will travel further, and you can better find and communicate with other potential survivors in the vicinity. Securing the stairwell leading to your rooftop Alamo is also important. Even just reinforcing the doors with door jams and security bars will prevent them from bursting through to the rooftop if they make it inside the mall. You might want to think of an evac plan, where if the mall becomes compromised for whatever reason, like a fire started or Danny McBride ate all your food, you aren't completely screwed. My evacuation plan would be to drive to the Horicon Wildlife Preserve. To get there, I'd rig up an escape vehicle from a mall bus or a vehicle in the underground parking lot. I'll talk more about the escape vehicle's actual setup later. Once you got your sick zombie-proof mall setup, you'll want to figure out how much food and water you need versus what you have. It's reasonable to assume these zombies have a rage virus rather than being spawns from hell or something, which means they have realistic physiological needs and respect the first law of thermodynamics. This means their bodies use energy which can't be depleted, and they have to have a functioning circulatory, respiratory, and nervous system which keeps them alive. If this is the case, you don't need much food at all, which is a good thing because, let's be honest, none of these people are Mark Watney. Nobody will be setting up a sustainable potato farm on the roof. You don't even need to wait for the zombies to die of starvation. They will all die of dehydration within days from just standing out in the sun. As long as you have some rain catchers and Evian, you can put out a lawn chair and just stay sipping while they wilt away. Then you can pick off the stragglers, start scavenging, and rebuilding society. You will still have to be careful of zombies that were chilling in cold, dark areas, because they could survive much longer without water. To be safe, you might want to wait about a month before raiding houses. In addition to dehydration, zombies will also likely die from infection. The vast majority of zombies were initially infected from bite wounds. The severe infections and septic shock caused by these wounds would eventually kill them. The other good news is that the virus only affects humans, so there will be plenty of wildlife to hunt to satisfy your long-term food needs. Let's continue with what the characters did instead. Michael screws up badly by opening that door. He should have stayed on the mission to lock all the doors as priority numero uno, then gone for help. Haphazardly trying to clear out zombies by himself was not a good strategy. The glove was dumb to swap the crowbar for, but you can't argue with his results. Officer Kenneth and the crew get distracted by the commotion, and a ninja zombie attacks them from behind. Kenneth whacks the zombie off of Luda, then gets tackled into the fountain. Anna snacks the shotty and blind hip fires, making an accurate hit on the zombie and saving Kenneth's life. She must have had her lucky charms this morning. I think you should give your shotgun back to the cop now. They hop into the elevator to get to the high ground and get a warm welcome by the security staff when the elevator opens. The mall cop should have disabled the elevator. I think you'd want to limit any chances that a zombie could bump into the level 2 button, walk in, and kill everyone. I wouldn't have given the guns up, but that's a hard situation to de-escalate. Side note, not that they had options, but revolvers are terrible in a zombie apocalypse. They're slow to reload and have low capacity. Same with shotguns. Single stack pistols are better because they're quicker to reload, but they also suffer from low capacity. If I was the security, I'd check them for bite wounds and quarantine them. Let me give an alternate take here, since I tend to assume the more realistic zombies like in 28 Weeks Later. The shoot them in the head trope is probably derived from the fact that the human body can withstand a lot of non-critical hits. Since zombies don't feel pain and are in full adrenaline rage mode, they will keep coming until they receive a critical hit like a headshot. This doesn't necessarily mean that zombies can't be killed with non-headshots though. I also think it's funny that we're always told to destroy a zombie's brain, but a zombie is essentially a mindless killing machine. I get that the brain is a good target, I just think it's ironic. On the news, we also hear that Fort Pastor is secure, with search and rescue teams searching for survivors. It's not a real base, so who knows how far away it is. At this point, holding out and signaling from the roof is their best option. The survivors finally start clearing and locking down the mall, putting up SOS signals and tossing the dead bodies off the roof. They hear some gunshots coming from across the street. There's another survivor, Andy, held up in a gun store 400 or 500 yards away. A military chopper flies by but doesn't stop for them. The chopper might not have seen them, but it also might be full of survivors or low on gas. I'd have fired some rounds off into the air to get its attention if I was Andy. If they knew the direction of Fort Pastor, they may be able to know if it's headed back to base or not. If it's flying away from the base, then it should come back this way. And if it doesn't, well, maybe something bad happened. The worst case scenario is that the chopper was fleeing from the overrun base. In the live report on the news a bit ago, we saw them unloading a transport truck with bloody survivors. It's possible that they turn into zombies. Everyone heads back inside for the night and reflects on loved ones lost.
Dude, everybody's dead. Okay? Your mom's dead. Your brother's dead. That fat chick Gary dead.
The next morning, the rookie security kid goes to do some routine tasks and makes some coffee. I would not use the elevator. Way too risky. You have no idea what's on the other end of those doors. If a ninja zombie runs at you, good luck getting the elevator doors to close in time. Meanwhile, Anna's crew is still locked up by CJ. Why did CJ lock them up on the first floor when there's stores with gates on the second floor, where it's way safer? Outside, a couple of wild boys in a shipping truck are driving around the parking lot going postal on the zombies. Anna's team wants to help, but CJ's a stubborn prick. I think that bringing in strangers is dangerous, but with your guns and numbers, you can effectively secure and quarantine. You have enough food and you can help killing zombies. Michael and Kenneth jack the guns and flip the script on CJ's crew. The outsiders spin the truck around and reverse into the loading bay. Seems they have some additional cargo. Andre and Michael run outside to help the drivers, and holy shit, they must be ex-special forces without easily they're headshotting everyone left and right under extreme stress and pressure. Whoa, absolutely no way that lady in the wheelbarrow comes in. I hope we aren't going to entertain the bullshit that the protagonists are oblivious to what zombies are. They really need to implement a decontamination and quarantine procedure to check all the new people for the zombie virus. The cop tries to leave to go find his brother at Fort Pastor, despite the trucker saying that everyone there is dead. But Kenneth has a change of heart when he sees poor Andy stuck out there all by his lonesome. Jesus, this guy is a bite too? Nobody checked the newcomers out at all. This is gonna end badly. This lady looks like a special mutant type of zombie, like the floater bio launcher in video games. As a nurse or anyone with common sense, get some PPE on and get your hands out of her face and bodily fluids. You want to stick your fingers in her mouth for a dental inspection too? Anna manages to dodge fate yet again. After that, I'd take the gun away from the security kid. I'm sorry, but if you have the only gun and you run and leave everyone in danger, you don't deserve it. No shit. Doesn't take a doctor to figure that out. Anna, that was literally what caused your husband to die. You saw that exact thing happen in the beginning. Anna and Michael have a dispute about executing whoever is bitten. Killing anyone with an open wound is only going to cause mass conflict, distrust, and resentment, which will lead to revenge killings. The infection typically takes hours depending on the wound. All you have to do is lock anyone with an open wound in a gated store. If they turn into a zombie, blast them. If not, you avoided murdering someone for no reason. The guy with the bite wound on his hand will be zombified in hours. Amputating his arm won't work either. Blood circulates through the body way too fast. For example, a drug administered in the arm reaches the brain within a few seconds. The virus has already spread throughout his entire body. Even if it would stop the virus, field amputations are incredibly lethal and hard to perform correctly. In the Civil War, the mortality rate for amputations was extremely low. 1/3 of people died from the surgery itself, and half of those people who lived through the surgery died from infection later. I'd say they're under worse circumstances. They have no medical equipment or supplies beyond aspirin and Band-Aid, and nurses are not trained to perform amputations. They really need to think about where they're quarantining and executing people. You're getting their infectious blowing someone's brains out on a perfectly good bed or couch that someone could have slept on is stupid. And why not have Kenneth close the gate in front of him? Why lock himself in with someone infected? If one thing gets tripped up, you're dead. If you weren't paying attention, the dude throws something at your head and attacks you because he doesn't want to die. The gun misfires, etc. You want at least 2 degrees of separation between you and death.
Why she doesn't take it? Woman!
Now that that's taken care of, go check out Andre's wife, who was cut in the altercation with the zombie, as well as the trucker's leg that was also injured.
Okay, I feel like she's bugged. Oh.
The standoffishness would be alarming, especially considering what we know about bites and her close call with the zombie. Not checking in with each other to measure each other's conditions is a mistake. I've mentioned before that the importance of entertainment in the apocalypse is underestimated, and I gotta say, the mall is a good choice to fulfill this need. Who's Who with the hunting rifle looks fun. For some mysterious and unpredictable reason, the mall ran out of power, and nobody thought to scavenge the generators earlier on. Now they have to go into an uncleared, zombie-filled parking garage in darkness. Get going, guys. Before they embark on their suicidal journey, Kenneth shows Michael how to take the safety off of his gun, which is inspiring as hell. I'm glad the guys I'm rolling out with don't know how to use their guns. Kenneth, being a former Marine, should have conducted a weapons 101 training course in their spare time, so when shit goes down, they actually know how to use the guns. Maybe you guys shouldn't have just screwed around for the past few days. It's also worth pointing out that when fighting in low light conditions, you never want to have your light permanently on because it just gives your position away. You want to use quick taps when assessing and engaging areas or threats. You also want to move alongside the wall to reduce the areas a zombie could attack you from.
That dog's just been fucking up. Ah!
What the hell? Now we have to deal with Cirque du Soleil zombies? All hell breaks loose, and the Securitas kid dies a horrific death. It's hard to tell what's going on, but it appears they made it into a gated gas station in the underground parking garage of the mall. That makes complete sense. Kenneth runs out of ammo, which was stupid. He should have brought spare ammo. Thinking back, he racked his shotgun when making his entrance. This chambered a round, but also freed up space in the tube. He could have loaded another round in. Depending on the shell, this gives him 5+1 capacity, whereas he only had 5. So he only anticipated needing to fire 5 rounds, which is really optimistic. This is also why I don't like shotguns. Low capacity, and unless you're Jerry Michalek with an extended tube and speed loader, you're gonna get stampeded before you can reload. It's a damn good thing CJ had a lighter to set the gas on fire. Luna's childbirth doesn't seem to be going so well. I blame Andre for being a poor midwife. That is true love, though. I'd have capped my girlfriend a long time ago. The granny shows up for the baby shower and unloads on the zombie.
Dirty garbage.
Andre doesn't take this so well and blasts Norma back. If I was the granny, seeing Andre's mental state and the zombie, I'd have blasted him first, then the zombie. Anna assesses that the granny wasn't bitten, so she won't become a zombie. Can you really know for sure, though? And do you really want to just assume that with everything that's going on? I know I don't. Double tap all of them, including the zombie baby. It seems these recent events broke the group's morale on holding out in the mall until help arrives. the heart of Milwaukee, which has a population of 600,000 zombies. You have to drive through all of that to get to the boat, whereas with Oregon, the population gets sparser as you get closer. Secondly, the boat takes time to start up and push offshore, which is a problem when 100,000 zombies are sprinting at you. Thirdly, you don't know if the boats were jacked or destroyed in the chaos. The islands are not a bad idea though. You can easily eliminate all the zombies on the island and fish for food, and you're far enough away from the shore that other zombies won't know you're there. Who knows if these zombies can swim though? If so, a few miles offshore might still be dangerous. If you were dead set on boating to an island in the middle of the lake, at least drive to a remote area of the shoreline and row to the island. Rowing 5 to 10 miles is not difficult, and it's going to be a lot safer. They have to do something though. It's almost been a week and the zombies have not died or shown signs of deterioration from dehydration. For some reason, the zombies don't seem to have any physiological constraints. This means that they cannot stay in the mall and outlast the zombies. They'll just starve to death. I think they should try a different option before going to either Hurricane or the Marina. In both of those options, you have to leave the comfort, security, and supply-rich mall to wade through thousands of zombies for a utopia you don't know even exists. They should stay put and implement a shape, clear, hold, build military strategy. Shape means to identify the nature and strength of the enemy threat in a given area. After the outbreak, Anna hopped on the highway and drove away from the city. She most likely ended up in a more suburban area like Brookfield. This is about a 5 by 5 mile area with a population of roughly 30,000 people. The number of zombies hanging out at their mall looks to be around 5 to 10,000. Clear obviously means to eradicate the zombie infestation. This is the fun part. It's like the Dead Rising game or Dying Light, but more realistic. Since the zombies can't be killed by attrition, it must be done with violence. Of ammo per box, 6 boxes high and 8 boxes across with 32 rows of ammo shelf. That's around 50,000 rounds of ammo. If he's got ammo in the back or any surplus of 22 long rifle ammo, that's going to be a lot higher. 22 long rifle is probably the most efficient round for this job, and if you have one of these stacks laying around, you're going to be just fine. That's over 125,000 rounds just right there. You could kill the zombie crowd in front of the mall 25 times over with just that stack. A 22 LR aimed down at the zombie's head from the rooftop will definitely destroy the brain. In some cases, the bullet has enough power to penetrate the skull, but not enough to exit out the back. So the bullet just ricochets around inside the skull and turns the brain into soup. I know Andy's getting hungry, but I don't recommend sipping the juice out of those coconuts. A rifle round could be heard from a few miles away, but with only 30,000 people within a few miles of them, killing the zombies won't attract any more than that. Personally, I'd save the ammo as much as possible. They should be able to kill a significant amount of zombies with Molotov cocktails or homemade napalm using gas and styrofoam. The mall is made of bricks, so it shouldn't be a problem. Still wouldn't hurt to have some fire extinguishers and water nearby though. A dishonorable mention for the adrenaline junkies would be the Drain Core strategy in the Great Wall movie. I highly don't recommend this, but you could use a pulley system to bait the zombies over, then repeatedly drop heavy weights onto their heads, or just throw bricks like Kevin McAllister in Home Alone. Once you've eliminated close to the population of the city, you can progress to the holding phase. Reinforce the security of the mall and the gun store, close any gaps in your base's defenses, set up scare and noisemaker traps for the zombies, and generally just ensure that you can maintain your controlled territory now that the initial threat is gone. With the local threat identified, eliminated, and your position reinforced, you can start building out sustainability. Set up clear systems for supply rationing, animal traps, sewage disposal, firearms training for all survivors, how and where to raid and scavenge, as well as decontamination of newcomers and people returning to the mall from raids. I'm not sure how much food they have left, or how many animals they could trap, or how much non-perishable food they could raid from nearby stores. Raiding is exceptionally dangerous too. Since dogs are unappetizing to zombies and they're a popular pet, there should be lots of them available and eager to come to you if you get hungry. I know it's fucked up, but it is the apocalypse. Your only alternative is attempting that homegrown potato farm, or an even less appetizing option. Food can be quite abundant if you just know where to look. I'm not saying it's the first choice, but I'm saying it's worth a shot if you're gonna die anyways. Cooking the meat over 140 degrees should kill any pathogens, which should make it safe to eat. You're gonna want to order this meal well done. I know, prions and the CFJ disease. But if you only eat muscle tissue, you'll have less of a chance of getting infected. And even if you do, the time from infection to death is 30 to 50 years long. So I'd say that's worth it when your only other option is starving in 3 to 5 months. I still think driving out to Horican is the next move. Hunting wildlife in the open is far less dangerous than raiding houses and stores. You're also far less likely to come across deranged or malicious survivors. At least now you have a fallback base at the mall if Horican or the marina is swarmed with zombies. If you want to take back the world and start repopulating it, shape, clear, hold, build, and repeat is your best option. There are enough guns and ammo in each city across America to kill all the residents many multiple times over, so removing the zombies shouldn't be too tall of an order. With our protagonist's crippled morale, they outfit the war buses to head for the marina in a last-ditch suicidal attempt at salvation. Even though we would have thinned the zombie herd out, it's still a good idea to up-armor and up-gun your vehicles. In the mall crew's case, there's still around 10,000 zombies outside. They're on the right track with the snowplow, but it needs to be pointier. They want to avoid zombies piling up in front as much as possible, and snowplows are not meant for piercing as much as pushing. The plow should also be low enough to the ground that zombies cannot fall underneath the bus and muck the tires up or reduce the bus's traction to the road. Welding skirts around the side of the bus to prevent zombies from falling down in front of the rear tires is also important. Not as extreme as this, but you get the point. It is a colossal mistake to weld pieces of metal to the sides of the buses. All they're doing is giving zombies something to grab a hold of. The chainsaw idea is cool, but you wouldn't need them if you didn't create handholds for the zombies to climb onto the bus in the first place. Chainsawing zombies is also going to be spitting up infectious blood everywhere. The additional lights are good because without the power grid, it's going to be dark as shit at night. Hopefully you don't have to drive at night, but it's better to be prepared for it. Barbed wire on the roof is better than nothing, but it's not going to slow zombies down much at all. Shit, zombies would probably grab onto it as another handhold. Meanwhile, Andy's getting hungry over there. He's a skinny fella, but he'll last 5 more days. There won't be any severe muscle atrophy, and he's not going to be a weak cripple by the time they make their escape to the marina. There is no point in risking the biscuit to get him a simulator. Andy is about 400 to 500 meters away at least, and surrounded by zombies. Carrying food over with an RC car sounds good, but cheap store-bought ones only have a couple hundred feet of signal. A potato gun also sounds good, but it'd have to be extremely powerful. DIY ones only have a range of about 50 to 100 yards or so. My vote is to kill all the zombies, then go pick them up. Instead, they send the dog over with food, which surprisingly works. The problem is the ground level pickup. Andy screws up and gets zombified because he didn't shut the door quick enough or have his gun ready to blast the nearby zombies. Nicole goes completely insane and drives the truck over to Andy's gun store to rescue her dog. This is mind-blowing levels of stupidity. Dogs are completely ignored by zombies. You literally saw Kip walk through the entire horde. You will be fine. She didn't even know Andy was bit when she drove over there. Everything was going according to plan as far as she knew, and she's still free. Now she's stuck in a closet with Andy trying to kill her, causing the mall crew to attempt a hasty rescue, even though abandoning her dumbass would also be a perfectly good option. Their new plan is to use the sewer system. On the approach to the sewers, there's a self-locking fire door, and they need someone to be ready to open it when they come back. Of all people, Steve is eliminated for this vital job. Steve would be better placed in the coffee shop. He will 100% screw you over. Why not have Amy, Glenn, or Monica do it instead? The rescue team navigates the sewer system to get close to the gun store, but they end up having to pop out in the middle of the street filled with zombies to make a run for the store. Apparently, nobody thought to stop by one of the mall stores and throw on a leather jacket or gloves to protect against bites. Hell, most of them are just rocking tank tops. Instead of the sewer approach, I'd have driven one of the buses up to the shipping truck driver driver door, climbed over to the store, hopped through the gate, killed Andy, thrown Nicole off the roof, killed all the zombies, and then head back to the mall. If they are going to use the sewer route where they have to traverse open ground filled with zombies, I'd have tried employing a form of zombie camouflage. It sounds like a cheesy gag in a crappy horror movie, but if you think about it, it could work. How do zombies differentiate between humans and other zombies? It has to be based on a mix of scent, sound, motion, and behavior. If you can spill some zombie guts on your clothes, make awful moaning noises, you might have fooled the zombies. It would at least buy them some time. It's also worth a shot in a situation where you're trapped by a zombie horde. I have no idea how they survive that. The crew finds the
Ah, tes
zombified
frites, Jenna,
Andy, and Kenneth gives him the
tes
870
frites, elles
police
sont là
vest.
parce que j'ai ça pour qu'il est trop sec.
Everybody reloads their guns and runs back outside to the sewer so they can get back to the mall. What's the rush? Obviously, this building is secure. Just catch some Z's,
Dang,
kill all
how
the
big
zombies
this hotel
then
is.
head back
Holy
to the mall.
shit, they have a
Run back
pool!
outside right now.
Whee!
At least grab some AR-15s. No competent gun store won't have them stocked. Higher capacity, quicker to reload, easier manual of arms, and softer recoil. It's perfect for rapid accurate headshots. At minimum, I'd ditch the revolvers for double stack magazine-fed pistols. Reloading is when you're most vulnerable, so I'd be tempted to roll out like Noah McManus or Neo. You don't need to reload if you have more guns. They scramble into the sewer, and Tucker falls, breaking his leg. CJ drags while Tucker shoots.
Dang, that's a lot of shit. Shoot, hey!
What do you know? Steve screws them over by leaving the door shut and locked. Luckily, Anna opens it before they get overrun. Nobody's able to get the door shut, so the zombies come pouring into the mall. Well, now the Marina or Hurricane are your only options, since your poor decisions cost you the mall. They scream for everyone to get into the elevators and to the garage so they can bust out in their war buses. I hope nobody was in the bathroom while this all went down. I take that back. I hope Steve was in the bathroom. Nope, Steve was by the bus with the keys. That scumbag was probably trying to take off without everyone. I would have decapped him and left his ass. The buses get bogged down in the horde, probably because the snowplow is not diverting the zombies well enough. CJ comes in with a propane tank bomb to get him out of it.
Allez, quand tu en as pas été.
That was really fucking cool. I'm glad they used flares with a propane tank. Shooting it without the flares and ignition source would not cause it to explode, and it'd be harder to find in the horde of zombies. They peel out and start making their way to the marina. One zombie managed to hang on to the bus though.
Chicky.
Yeah, attaching railings all over the bus was not a good idea. Monica shouts to drive
Huh?
faster, which is also a terrible idea. Yes, you want to drive fast enough that
La
zombie
peau, ça
hordes
fait
can't
rien,
surround
c'est le
you. You
skeleton
don't wanna
qui
go
est
too
important.
fast and wreck your only means of survival. Michael's chainsaw idea would not have been necessary if they didn't create zombie handholds. It wasn't good in theory, and it's especially not good in practice in a rowdy bus.
Ça, c'était le même, je pense. C'était là, puis je sais pas maintenant.
Kenneth's panic driving sends the bus into a roll. Luckily, Michael sees this in time and backs up to rescue them. Steve leaves Kenneth hanging and gets attacked by the zombie holding onto the bus. How did Glenn die? He chainsawed Monica and the bus flipped. He could have banged his head off of something, but you don't know if he was knocked out or dead. I hope they took a pulse on him to make sure. It would suck if he woke up in the bus alone with everyone gone. Anna goes back for Steve's body to grab the keys to the boat. Why on earth did they leave the most important item of their mission in Steve's hands? And why was nobody aware that Steve had the keys? Everyone should know who the key bearer was in case they get killed. I also hope you guys got an exact location and description of his boat. They narrowly escape and make it to the marina, but they're already getting swarmed. The timing is really tight getting offshore and CJ buys them some time by making a last stand and nuking them with another propane bomb. the boat and ran onto the island without checking it out first. They should have coasted around the perimeter of the island and killed as many as possible from a distance. There should only be in the realm of hundreds of people on the island. They easily could have killed them all, but instead ran over and just got over. The movie ends. Let's see who would have lived and who would have died. The infection spread extremely fast and took everyone by surprise. Lewis was unsavable. They got lucky that the mall was empty and already locked up, but really any high ground with access to water should have worked. Realistically, all the zombies should have died from dehydration within a week, so nobody else would have died. Unfortunately, these zombies are not affected by it. Luda got infected as well as the big lady and Frank. They were all unsavable. Not securing the generators when they had power on was stupid. This forced them to find it in the dark parking garage with the zombies, which led to Bart's unnecessary death via ninja zombie. They should have kept a closer eye on Luda and Andre. Letting people go off on their own when you can't check their location was a bad call. I don't think Andre would have taken his wife and baby's execution, and he likely would have died or been killed by the others in a confrontation anyway. Norma should have shot Andre before Luda, after seeing his mental state. This would have prevented her death as well. Andy should have killed all the zombies near the doggy door before picking up the food, ensuring his survival. After that snack, the mall crew and Andy easily could have killed off all the zombies in the area with the ammo and weapons available, then brought Andy back to the mall before heading off to the marina. Nicole was an idiot and drove over there, so they needed to rescue her.
Where's 107?
Once they got there, they should have stayed,
Oh,
used the ammo
yeah.
to kill all the zombies, then headed back to the mall in the morning. This would have saved Tucker's life. Using
Okay.
Steve to guard the sewer doors was idiotic.
I need a
The
bed
delay
in the
before Anna opening the door
toilet.
enabled the zombies to breach the mall, forcing them to leave without preparing. If they didn't add handholds to the buses, there wouldn't be zombies they needed to chainsaw off, and Glenn would not have been in a position to accidentally saw Monica in half. This
Oh,
event
wow.
arguably caused Ken to crash, leading to Steve, Glenn, and Michael's deaths. The marina was a bad option because getting off of shore was almost impossible without being overrun. It was almost inevitable that CJ or someone would have had to sacrifice themselves to stem the tide of zombies. If they had gone to a remote area and rowed to the island or Oregon, this would not have been the case. They should have rowed around the island, taking off the zombies before heading ashore. There shouldn't have been more than a couple hundred zombies to kill. Kenneth, Anna, Terry, and Nicole all would have lived. The dog Chip was never in danger, so he's doing just fine. Overall, I think we could have beaten the zombie horde in Dawn of the Dead with less people getting killed. Thanks for watching, and remember, all you need to survive a realistic zombie apocalypse is some shelter and a pack of San Pellegrino. If the spooky paintings in your dead cousin's estate came to life and began hunting you, what would you do? When a demonic succubus possesses Clive Franco's wife, he turns to the Book of the Dead for answers. What he found was an ancient ritual for baiting an evil spirit out of a human host and onto an easel. The idea is that by getting the spirit to paint itself onto the canvas, you can sever its connection to the physical world by torching a destructible effigy instead of your loving wife that it's coveting. There's just one problem. You're dealing with a demon. I'm gonna break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat the ink demons in The Painted. It's January 1968. Clive Franco is tending to his possessed wife. She's lying on her bed unconscious, hooked up to an IV loaded with enough sedatives to take down a mini horse.
I like you.
Makes sense. Don't want the demon rotating her head at 360 degrees, twisting her limbs into balloon animals, or projectile vomiting pea soup all over the carpet. Clive removes her ring and returns to his study where he lights a candle and cracks open a book. Not just any book, a book of demonic rituals. Flipped to chapter 12,
Okay, I
The
need to-
Painted. The chapter's marked with caution. Beware. Certain spirits are deceptive. Entities captured within paintings may endeavor to enter our world. This ritual is considered incredibly dangerous and should only be practiced by those with intimate knowledge of the spirits with which they are communicating. This is considered one of the more advanced rituals by many spiritualists, and reasonable precautions should be taken when communicating with non-human spirits. These interactions can be fatal. Protect yourself. Nerds, if you're trying to phase out vaping or just need to keep your hands busy, Fume might be exactly what you've been looking for. It's a compact, flavored air device. No vapor, no nicotine, no batteries. It's built to give you something clean to satisfy your oral fixation with. Fume uses passive diffusion to deliver natural, non-toxic flavor. No smoke, no charging, no harmful chemicals. Just flavored air in a portable device that you can use anywhere. At work, while traveling, or relaxing at home. It's 100% nicotine-free, non-addictive, and requires zero maintenance. No refills, no chargers, just twist, draw, and go. The build quality stands out. It has weighted wood construction, magnetic snapping parts, and an adjustable airflow dial that's genuinely satisfying to twist. It looks sharp, feels solid, and doubles as a fidget tool when your hands need something to do.
I'm not sure what to do with my hands.
There's a ton of flavors. Crisp mint is sharp and clean. Cinnamon hearts add some heat. Orange vanilla is smooth. They've got maple pepper if you want savory, grapefruit if you want punchy, peach blush, raspberry lemon, mango, and white cranberry. More than 500,000 people have already picked up Fume as part of building a better habit. If you're looking to do the same or just want something smarter to reach for, now's the time. Go to tryfume.com/nerdexplain or scan the QR code on screen. Use code NERDEXPLAINS. They'll throw in a free Fume topper when you grab at the Journey Pack. Thanks to Fume for sponsoring this video. Well, enough of that garbage. Fly flips past the warning and get straight to the instructions. Alright, what we're gonna need to do is find the ghost's favorite room, a place of high activity that's usually freezing. The room Clive chooses has an ectoplasmic spectral mist hanging in the air. Perfect. Now, all we need is some mood lighting, a blank canvas, a sentimental lure, a full set of CMYK from Sherwin-Williams, and a pinch of patience. Clive sets a small table in the room with a chair on one side, an easel on the other, places his wife's ring in the center, lights a circle of candles around it, fills 5 jars of various colored paints, primes the canvas with turpentine, turns off the lights, sits down in the chair, and reads the sacred scripture. The candles blow gently, then nothing happens. Frustrated that the demon didn't paint itself within 3 seconds, Clive storms off to the other side of the room. While his back is turned, the ink climbs up the canvas. Once the portrait reaches significant completion, all the candles blow out at once, supposedly signifying the ritual's successful transference of the demon from his wife into the canvas. Clive jumps into action. He grabs his matchbox, fumbles out a match, and strikes it. The flame flares to life just as the painting completes, revealing the succubus's full form.
You like it? It's very jealous.
Clive flicks the lit match at the painting, hoping the turpentine vapors will ignite and torch the demon's new host in the ink. Instead, it hits handle first, bounces off, and fizzles out disappointingly. The demon did not like that. Well, time to find a large empty cabinet to hide in for the next 30 seconds. The next morning, Clive's wife awakens, free from demonic possession, only Clive sitting in the corner of the room watching her, and begins laughing maniacally, clearly now possessed by the succubus. The Clive-cubus strangles her to death, then offs Clive's new host body. So, where did this all go wrong? Well, for starters, probably living in a mansion full of haunted paintings trying to kill you. In the movie, we learned that the Francos were among the foremost practitioners of spirit painting. They believed that if you became one of the painted, you could never truly die. And they were paid quite handsomely to immortalize people's spirits through this ritual.
I
some
still have enough to
insane
buy a
reason,
bed.
They decided it was a
Did
great
I already
idea
buy?
to paint many
Yeah, I
of these
did.
spirit portraits on the walls of their own home. According to their librarian, Leonora, He threw a blanket over her painting, shoved it in the basement, and went off to marry someone else. Hey, at least he didn't hang her painting above his headboard. As you can probably imagine, Cassandra was more than a bit upset about being doomed to spend eternity alone, forced to watch Ivor love another woman. She turned into a succubus and cursed Ivor and all his descendants. Not that Clive could have possibly known about the marital drama of his great-great-grandfather, or expected to be the recipient of Ivor's fallout with his dead wife. But come on, bare minimum, who wants old dead people all over their house? Who wants a mischievous ghost kid constantly trying to play hide and seek every day and shoving you down the basement stairs? For Christ's sake, they hung up a bored barber spirit right above their bed. No wonder so many paintings eventually ended up in Leonora's basement. But here's the catch. The painted spirits stuffed away in a dusty basement are gonna be
Give,
as the movie shows, their grudges follow you no matter where you go. Point is, painting spirits is a bad idea. Hanging them in your house is a very bad idea. Cutting them off once they're already there, deadly. Just like the Book of the Dead Clive was reading from warned him. Now, one thing to consider is that later in the movie, we learned that the original Franco house burned down in 1907, killing Ivor and his second wife. The current house where Clive and his wife live was rebuilt on the same foundation 3 years later. So, it's entirely possible that all the original paintings were destroyed in that fire, meaning that Clive might not have had any of those paintings hanging up at the time that his wife was possessed. But this is where the movie logic starts getting loose. Apparently, if you burn a painting, the spirits can just repaint itself somewhere else because its essence is still floating around or something. In Clive's case, even if the paintings were gone, the spirits were still out there. It's possible that they simply repainted themselves elsewhere after Clive was killed. Who knows? We barely see any of his house during the ritual scene, so it's all left vague. Either way, Clive didn't seem like an active practitioner, didn't have paintings up, and had no idea what he was dealing with until his wife suddenly got possessed by a demon. He did at least have that Book of the Dead, which explains that to truly get rid of these entities, you have to perform the full ritual all over again. Summon the spirit using its anchor object. The spirit then has to willingly agree to be painted again. Once it's fully manifested onto the canvas, only then can you burn it and supposedly banish it to the spirit realm for good. Or at least that's the theory. I don't know. It sounds like nobody really knows what they're doing. Hence, why they're all dead, and why nobody's performed this ritual in ages. Which brings me to my next point. Why didn't Clive just call up a certified exorcist technician? The guy's filthy rich, well-versed enough in the occult to own what's basically the Necronomicon, and the Franco dynasty has enough connections to pull some serious strings. I'm not saying it's as easy as hopping on cast prep, but there's gotta be someone that he can call that knows how to do a straight-up exorcism. Painting spirits was what got the Francos into this mess in the first place. Trying to paint their way out is like fighting a house fire with a blowtorch. But okay, for whatever reason, Clive decides an exorcism will not do. Possibly because he thinks that the demon possessing his wife already has a connection to the physical world through the paintings and to this specific ritual. And the only way to sever that connection is to undo it using the same ritual. Either way, he's convinced that this is the only way, that he's the only guy for the job. Then, when the succubus finally reveals herself, manifesting into the ink and supposedly leaving the host to bind her soul to the canvas, Clive's completely unprepared for the final banishing process. He had to know that the candles were gonna blow out, plunge him into total darkness, and he didn't bring a flashlight, a lantern, or even a Zippo. Flicking a match was destined to fail.
105? I thought 105 was the release.
It ain't easy. The flame usually goes out and it's hard to aim. And the odds of actually lighting turpentine vapor in the first try are
101, 103, 104.
This was the big deal, the ultimate showdown, and Clive brought a single match to fight a demon. Unreal. No wonder he got targeted. Clive should have bought himself a post-war M2 flamethrower and parked a couple of buckets of kerosene right next to it. Then, for protection, he should have popped some sanity pills, aka benzos and beta blockers, laid a salt circle around the painting and easel, carved protective sigils into the floor, lit some incense, holstered a big old cross, stuffed a Bible in his back
Customer,
pocket, and draped prayer beads around his neck.
Anna
Because
Washington
if you're gonna go toe-to-toe with a
Jr.
demon, you might as well bring the entire holy arsenal. Sure, the M2 would burn your house to the ground in the process, but it's haunted anyway. This is a guaranteed way to turn the evil spirit's connection to the physical world into ashes, along with all the other trapped spirit portraits in your house. Then after whisking your wife off the bed and running downstairs, you can tell her all
Oh,
about the long
shit.
vacation that you've got planned in the Bahamas, while you build a brand new demon-free house on a different foundation. In the end, Clive attempted a DIY demonic art project and got his wife and himself murdered.
Not very clear.
6 months later, Clive Franco's wife's cousin, Evelyn Elster, gets a knock at her door.
Clean the
representative
rooms.
of the Franco estate, informing her that she's been named executor of her cousin's estate. Evelyn tells her husband,
That would be the perfect
Adam,
one.
that she
That's
barely
the
knew her
only one I
cousin
really,
and
really
how she
need.
died under bizarre circumstances. But there's money involved. A salary of $10,000, plus a percentage of the estate. Adam, whose furniture business is tanking, immediately fixates on the cash, despite Evelyn's apprehension. So the entire Elster family packs up and road trips to the Franco mansion. As executor, Evelyn's new job is to catalog every single item in the house so that the appraisers can come in next week and assign values. Otherwise, the state would handle the probate, likely dragging things out for months or years. The Elsters decide to spend the weekend at the mansion itself, sleeping in the same place where Clive killed her cousin and then banished himself. Sounds like a great family getaway. Inside, what becomes immediately apparent is that the house is filled with dozens of portraits of random dead people. One of them is rather voluptuous, prompting Evelyn and Adam to quickly order their son Nelson to haul it up to the attic so little Lucy doesn't catch an eyeful. Later that night, Evelyn shuts down Adam's advances, probably because she's thinking that this might be the same bed where Clive choked the life out of her cousin. So Adam decides to go rummage through the trunk of the car for his secret toolbox stash that he apparently packed for this trip. Just as he's getting situated, something catches his eye. A slender, seductive figure leaning against the window. But when he opens the door, the shadow's gone. Bro's wife gave him such bad blue balls he's out here hallucinating sexy ghosts. Back in James's room, things are getting weird. That's at least $80 saved at the local salon. But seriously, how is she not waking up with all that hair falling across her face? Not a
Nope,
single
ding ding.
strand tickled her nose. What a bad time to be a deep sleeper, because this could have gone much worse for her. She eventually wakes up to find hair clips scattered all over her pillow and assumes it must have been her younger sister, Lucy. Reasonable enough, not like she could assume that the man in the painting was taken a little off the top. Naturally, nobody really believes her or does anything. The next morning, Evelyn's polishing up a mirror when she notices the woman in the portrait behind her is suddenly moving. Thinking it must have just been a trick of the light. The smudge shifted. She brushes it off.
Good,
A
well,
moment
that's
later,
nice.
she hears giggling and the sound of little feet pounding down the hallway. She goes to check, assuming it's Lucy, but when she rounds the corner, the basement door slams shut. Here's the creepy part. Evelyn glances out of the window and sees Lucy outside, happily playing in the yard. So, who just ran into the basement?
Who's down there?
Exercising complete disregard for her own safety and well-being, Evelyn heads right into the basement in search of whatever was baiting her. When she rounds the stairwell, the cabinet doors on the far wall slam shut. When she opens them, inside is Adam's tool chest. The very next
Can't
scene is
see.
Evelyn confronting Adam about the magazines, instead of bringing up the far bigger issue that she'd just been chasing someone down into the basement who simply vanished. If nobody else put those magazines there, then who did? Just last night, Janice was freaking out that someone was cutting her hair, and it's definitely not Lucy sneaking around with scissors. It's not totally unreasonable to think that there's a mole person squatting in the house messing with them. The priority should be figuring out if they're actually safe in
Miami
this house or
Hotel.
not. Adam expertly diverts the
Resort?
conversation to the topic of his failing business. Retailers aren't buying local anymore. He lost half his
Well,
clients
clearly
last
two
quarter.
king size
Oh, and he drained their
26
savings account to
room.
pay for Nelson's college. Nice. Later that night, while they're getting ready for bed, Evelyn tells Adam that she saw something strange earlier while playing with Lucy. She says it's the paintings. They're just creepy, which is why Janice threw a blanket over the barber painting in her room before going to bed. Once everyone's nice and deep in their REM cycles, the paintings come to life. This time, Janice wakes up almost immediately. Still thinking it's Lucy messing around, she goes to check her sister's room, but everyone's fast asleep. That's when she turns around and sees a figure emerging from beneath the blanket covering the painting. Panicking, she rushes to hide in her closet, leaving the door cracked just enough to watch the spooky ghost dissipate into nothing, along with the barber and the painting. What the hell is she thinking? Janice is literally standing in the doorway to the hallway where her entire family is only a few feet away. But instead of running to them, she slams the door shut and runs deeper into her room where the ghost is, locking herself in the closet. So if the barber comes knocking, she's now trapped in a tiny box with no escape. Genius. The only thing worse than seeing a creepy ghost in your room is not seeing it anymore. Janice somehow manages to free herself, probably because the barber cut the very hair that he was holding on to. She bolts back into the room, only to find the barber safely back inside the painting, like nothing happened.
No way!
Evelyn and Adam rush in after hearing her screams. Janice insists that someone's in the room. Adam yells, "Who? Where?" She points straight to the painting and says, "Him." She even adds that she could smell his breath. Cue the obligatory horror movie moment where the parents immediately dismiss it as just a nightmare. Adam and Elsa pull the painting off the wall and move it somewhere else that's presumably not Janice's bedroom. Tell her to just go back to bed. Honestly, I would not go to bed alone after that. I can't stand this kind of crap in horror movies where someone has a very real physical encounter with a ghost, getting dragged across the floor by their hair, and then the parents brush it off as just a nightmare, and somehow the person who almost got scalped by a painting ghost is supposed to just accept that and crawl back under the covers like nothing happened. I get that there's not much else that Janice can do at this point, but seriously, ghosts are attacking you. Personally, if it were me, I'd be sleeping in the car. The night ain't over yet. While splashing some cold water on his face, Adam hears a woman's whisper. And since Evelyn's fast asleep, the only logical choice is obviously to follow the noises up to the attic and crawl around with a Zippo. I swear, nobody in horror movies can resist the urge
Was
to
my
wander into the
employer?
dark alone. Mind you, this is literally minutes after his daughter was
Wait,
screaming
is it at
bloody murder
night?
about someone
What time is it?
attacking her
Oh,
in
it's
the
2
house.
a.m.
While investigating the disturbance, a candle falls over and rolls across the floor toward it. Adam mutters, "Who's there?" Lights the candle and finds himself face to face with a woman from the painting, the succubus in full flesh. Later in the movie, when Adam finally tries to explain this attic encounter to Evelyn, he mutters, "The woman from the painting came to me. We were together. I'm so sorry." Adam hooked up with a demon.
Nice.
The next morning, he wakes up sprawled out on the attic floor with his shirt off. Honestly, I'm surprised he even managed to get his pants back on after she succubused his soul out.
Randy!
Oh, there was a ghost.
Ok, ça c'était cool.
The
Je vais
ectoplasm.
manger tous ceux qui sont à terre.
Adam sits up and sees glowing blue eyes staring at him from across the room. He quickly angles a sunlit mirror to light up the spot, revealing it's the painting of the same ghost woman that he just spent the night with. He throws a drape over it and hog-ties it to cover up his degenerate ghost affair. Of course, he throws his shirt back on and says absolutely nothing to Evelyn about sleeping with a busty ghost woman with reptilian arms and legs who manifested out of a painting, only ever mumbling, "I need to tell you something," before getting conveniently interrupted over and over for the rest of the movie. Meanwhile, Evelyn jolts awake from a bizarre dream where the woman in the painting, the same one that Adam just banged, begs her husband Ivor, "Make me one of the painting," before dropping a red ruby necklace into his hand. At this point, Evelyn has no idea what the hell to make of it all. The next day, everyone basically goes back to finishing the estate appraisal. Evelyn wanders into a room and discovers a strange setup. A candle circle on a table with a wedding ring in the center, an empty easel, wet jars of paint underneath it, and Clive's Book of the Dead sitting there, complete with a painting ritual.
She's so cute. Look at her. Aw, what is she doing? I don't know.
That night, Adam sneaks off to the attic again, clearly looking for another round of that sucky pussy. Instead, he finds the ropes undone and the painting empty. The woman completely gone. Sorry, bro. It was just a one-night stand. It's not you. Meanwhile, Evelyn wakes up after hearing some spooky noises. Lucy, is that you?
Goosey.
There. How many times are people gonna get baited by creepy noises in the night? You'll never catch me wandering around following footsteps or slamming cabinet doors yelling, "Who's there?" You want some? I'll be hiding in a shadowy corner with a gun waiting for you. Okay, a young boy dressed like he's from the 1700s literally jumps into the painting. It's time to leave. I think the state can handle the appraisal from here. But no,
There you go.
Evelyn
I'm
runs
going
back,
home.
not to get help, but to grab the world's flashlight imaginable and shine it on the painting. It's now back to the original portrait. Oh my god. She actually walks right up to it and then turns her back on it. Pure insanity. Evelyn turns back around. The painting's black again. She hears giggling, leans down and looks under the cabinet. The boy takes off running, and Evelyn gives chase. But when she rounds the corner, he's gone, just like before. Then the basement door swings open on its own. Please tell me you're not actually going to follow it into the basement. Yep, she's following it down into the basement. She doesn't even yell out for help or anything. The little teleports behind Evelyn and shoves her down the stairwell, smashing her crappy flashlight in the process. Meanwhile, things are getting seriously weird in Nelson's room. All the paintings start melting like Terminator goo. Naturally, Nelson leans in inches from the liquefying portrait to get a better look. Finally, Adam snaps out of staring longingly at the empty canvas where his succubus lover used to be and rushes in to yank his son out of the melting arc portal. Apparently, that tumble down the stairs knocked Evelyn the hell out because she's only just now waking up in the basement. She quickly reassembles her trash flashlight in time to blast the succubus with her 4-lumen torch. The rest of the family charges down into the basement. Evelyn states the obvious. It's time to get out of the house immediately. They grab whatever essentials they can and head back home. Personally, I'd have seriously considered burning the entire place down at that point. But then again, they'd probably end up in jail for arson and possibly for burning down half of California. Back at home, Evelyn tells Adam that she thinks Clive was trying to summon something the night that he and his wife died. And upon dropping that bombshell revelation, Evelyn just gets up and says, "There's something I have to do." Promptly hops in the car and leaves. Cool, great talk. So you're not gonna tell him about the ritual setup that you saw in the mansion? Or Clive's Book of the Dead containing the painting procedure? It's also pretty messed up that Adam's been hooking up with Cassandra while his entire family's getting relentlessly attacked. And he hasn't once had the gall to mention this rather crucial piece of information. But sure, I get it. It's a little awkward to bring up. Look, it's not really Adam's fault that a demon chick's tearing his clothes off. Sorry, Evelyn. Sydney Sweeney was the one painted and not Clint Powell. I'm sure you'd have been all over that offer if the positions were reversed. Either way, there wasn't really any reason for them to believe that the evil spirits would follow them home. For all they knew, the house was haunted. They left the house, and so they were in the clear. There's no obvious sign that Cassandra is the big bad here, especially since Evelyn got attacked by the kid, Nelson by Starry Night, and Janice by a barber. So honestly, I can see why Adam might still think it's okay to be a little reluctant about disclosing his new relationship. Evelyn's plan is to visit the bookstore where Clive bought the demon painting manual, Alden Books 204, Exodus Lane, Casadega, California 95242. She's banking on the librarian knowing more about the ritual, Clive's intentions, and what the hell actually happened. Fair fair enough, but I'm not sure leaving your entire family all alone is the smartest move. Sure, it's not completely insane to think that simply leaving the haunted house might keep the painted spirits at bay, but that's not a chance that I'd want to take. Much safer for everyone to pile into the car and stay on the same page. When she arrives, Leonora, the woman working there, takes her downstairs into the basement, and holy crap, there is a ton of spirit portraits stacked down there. How is this lady not dead already?
Ouais, en parlant de Mathieu, il se fait pousser une barbe.
Who I bet tries to stick her
Non,
tongue
c'est ça.
down your
Il va avoir
throat
comme
while
un
you're
look
sleeping.
plus comme
Leonora
Paul, comme Paul
explains. They call them
C'est pour ça
the
qu'il faut que je
painting. Spirits summoned through art. Most spirits
Doesn't know that his dad it was hard for him to grow up
gave
here.
them a home, but it also
Well,
gave them a
yeah,
level
it was not as long.
by the early
It was hard for him to get it that long,
finally retired. We keep them here.
I think.
Evelyn tells Leonora that the painting
Or he
she
just
bought
really
from
like
his house
always
was
shaved it
trash.
every day,
So
like because he never wanted it long,
When
maybe.
she inquires what Clive was up to, Leonora says, "That's not for me to say. Lady, just spit it out. The Francos are dead. The paintings are killing people. Why are you so cagey?" Leonora does confirm that the Franco family kept many secrets. By the turn of the century, they were among the foremost practitioners of spirit painting. They believed that if you became one of the painted, then you could never truly die. Unless you burn the painting, right? Though Leonora never actually clarifies whether burning them works. Honestly, I don't think Leonora, or anyone, really knows what the hell they're doing. The paintings are basically confirmed evil. One of them literally turns into a skull and looks at Evelyn. So why not just torch the entire basement? Or drown the paintings in acid? Spirit mumbo jumbo aside, I'd rather not leave any portals to hell lying around. While Evelyn's off on her fact-finding mission, Janice and Lucy are chilling at home building a box fort in their basement, completely convinced that they're safe and that all the monsters were safely contained back in the haunted mansion. What better way to shake off PTSD from evil spirits hunting you in the dark than to create a vast network of dark tunnels in your basement where things could hide? Wow, crawling around in a pitch-black speleo box definitely makes me feel better about the old dead guy who tried to slit my throat open with a straight razor in my closet, especially considering that the entire situation was never resolved, and there's no way to know if the spirits might have followed you home. And yet, Janice decides that her box fort simply isn't complex enough. So she runs upstairs to get some more supplies, leaving her little defenseless sister Lucy alone in the tunnels. Uh-oh. Of course, Lucy, totally unfazed about a complete stranger lurking in her home, crawls right after him. Man, this box fort is massive. Where did Janice get
Someone
the
wants
idea
the
that it wasn't
sodas.
big enough? Lucy rounds a corner and sees something lurking at the end of the tunnel. Jesus, those wet, heavy footsteps smacking the floor are terrifying. Luckily, Janice hears her sister scream and rushes back down to pull Lucy away from the demon. But instead of springing up the basement stairs, Janice goes to investigate
Genius.
and finds the sucker
Not genius.
tucked away. Her brother Nelson, who previously got his face sucked into a painting, shows up and, speaking from experience, warns Janice not to get too close or to touch it. Then Adam arrives, sees the painting of his beloved, and upon realizing that the attack on his daughter clearly coincided with the image of the woman that he slept with, declares, "I know what needs to be done." Oh, right, cool. So you're gonna do the logical thing that someone with your limited knowledge would try first, destroying the painting, right? Nope. Apparently,
Destroy.
it's montage study time at the local library.
Montage, montage, montage.
Man, it's a good thing to have an entire section on demonology,
So?
because Bro is now cramming a full college course into a single evening before sundown. Look, I'm all for education, but you don't have time to earn your demonology degree right now. The painting in your house just tried to murder your daughter like 5 minutes ago, and then you go and leave them alone again? Bro, the words are underneath the picture. Eventually, Adam stumbles across an article labeled Mystics or Frauds, a contemporary opinion of the Franco dynasty, dated 1915. It describes a charity gala attended by the San Francisco elite, hosted by none other than Ivor Franco. And that's when Adam has a massive moment, realizing the truth. The mysterious woman he slept with is actually Cassandra Dubray, Ivor's former fiance and Clive's great-great-granddaddy. Though he still has no idea how or why she's trapped in a painting, or why she's suddenly hell-bent on destroying his family, something which Evelyn could have quickly brought him up to speed on by telling him about Clive's Book of the Painted hours ago. Well, let's be honest, you don't exactly need a PhD in demonology to figure out that a reptilian ghost woman seducing you is probably not great for your health. It also never seems to occur to Adam that he's not exactly Brad Pitt, and that Cassandra Dubray is not hopelessly attracted to his manly charm. She's just using this form to get what she wants. And what do malicious spirits typically want? Your soul.
Swallow this.
Back home,
I'll
Evelyn
swallow your
returns
soul.
later that
Swallow
day to find
this.
Adam barbecuing the painting. Oh, now you burn it. Evelyn tells him it's not gonna do any good. She'll just keep coming back. Why though? Isn't burning the painting supposed to sever the spirit's connection? As far as we're aware, Clive's plan was basically the same. Paint demon, burn painting, problem solved. Evelyn insists she'll find us no matter what we do or where we go. We have to figure out where she came from. So Adam pulls out his secret research stash.
I was gonna get it!
He shows Evelyn old charity photos featuring Cassandra Dubray and says that she's not a relative, but she knew Ivor. Turns out Cassandra died of a prolonged illness in the 1890s. After her death, there's been a trail of murders, suicides, and disappearances tied to the Franco family. From Clive to your cousin to us. Evelyn says, what about the fire? Adam replies that the original house burned down in 1907, killing Ivor and his next wife, which means the succubus did in fact repaint herself, and probably all the other paintings did too. So Evelyn's like, there's only one way to stop this. I know the ritual, but we're gonna need something else. Cassandra's closest personal possession. She tells Adam, when I was in the basement, I thought I saw something. Another room. I think that that's where she keeps it. Bold assumption, but if the plot doesn't demand this. She says it could have been the original seller, and that they have to go back tonight. How about we don't? Why don't we just wait until morning, then go searching for her ruby necklace? I get that it probably has to be nighttime for the ritual to work, but it doesn't have to be nighttime when we're gathering the materials that we need for the ritual. I would want to spend as little time as humanly possible in the dark, creepy, haunted mansion. Of course, they decide to split up again. Adam and Evelyn are gonna go to the haunted mansion by themselves and leave Nelson, Lucy, and Janice back home alone. Evelyn tells her children, if anything happens, call Steve. Who the hell is Steve?
Steve! Ta-da!
Splitting up is a terrible plan. It's a terrible plan because every single time anyone has ever split up, which has been a numerous amount, they've gotten haunted. They're no safer apart. The paint had already chased them all the way back home. Remember? And if this demon can only possess one person at a time, it's way smarter to keep the entire family together, so you've got extra people to dogpile and tie up whoever's currently possessed. Because, let's be real, if Adam gets possessed again, Evelyn's pretty much screwed. Back at the Elster house, no one seems to have learned their lesson. Janice and Lucy and Nelson are sleeping in different rooms. The paint from the model airplane set starts to unscrew itself and creep up over Lucy's artwork. So basically, Cassandra can paint herself into existence anywhere there's paint, which is super inconvenient. I mean, you probably don't want to have paintings and...
Yeah?
I'll be right back. I'm gonna click select.
Ah!
I'm almost done with clicking.
Nice. Okay.
Decided to be productive while you're streaming. How's the game so far?
Okay. I keep forgetting what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to think. But I don't remember what I was trying. I'm looking for a cleaner. I'm sorry. Okay. Thank you. Oh, we at night right now. I guess we are. Ow. So daytime, okay. Bartender, sir.
servi du bac vide pour aller vider les choses que j'avais mis, que je vais retrouver de quoi. Mais là, je peux même pas le vider, tout le bac sont plein. Super, fait que là, je sais pas ce que je vais faire. Je vais chercher. Et là, ça n'a pas été vidé encore, ça. Je peux aller retrouver l'affaire que je cherchais l'autre fois. Faudrait que je... Oh, je suis surtout plus. Ok, c'est bon, j'arrive, je ramasse. Hey, c'est bon, j'arrive. Kobo, lâche ça, là. Kobo, t'es sourd. Je vais en le ramasser.
Maman, c'est bon. C'est un chat, il s'en fout dessus.
Kobo, laisse-moi ça. Hey, j'arrive. C'était fait les journées.
Ah non.
Oh, j'aurais pu aller jeter la poubelle. Oh, ok, non, c'est bon, j'avais dit c'est pas bon. Ok, c'est bon. Ça suffit, là. Correct. Ah, ouais, c'est bon. C'est bon. Ok. J'arrive. Je suis là.
Wait. Where's my ship? It's when everything is here. What am I doing? Do your work, buddy. I'm sorry.
Paint all over the house because she does need to use them as a portal to physically manifest. But absent any materials in her home, probably manifest in Home Depot and then scroll right back over. Nelsa turns around to see Lucy's art completely covered in black paint, and then the succubus pops up right behind him. Cut to Adam and Evelyn arriving back at the Franco house. Evelyn warns that Cassandra may try to use the paintings against them, and Adam's immediate reaction is, we should just burn them. Okay, which is it? Burning won't stop them, but then they're all like, we should burn them. I mean, I'm all for burning them. Just stop with all the poorly understood and conflicting opinions. Adam rolls out the wheelbarrow, dumps all the paintings onto the front lawn, and sets them on fire. Meanwhile, Evelyn heads into the cellar alone, because why stop making terrible decisions now? Oh, but don't worry, Evelyn's carrying a candle. She makes her way into the cellar and finds Cassandra's hidden locker, but it's locked. Luckily, the key just randomly drops onto the floor behind her. Maybe another painted spirit doesn't like Cassandra and is trying to help. Or hell, maybe the director painted himself into the movie just to advance the plot. Who knows? Inside the locker, she discovers letters, trinkets, and Cassandra's red gem. Evelyn should really spin that box around and keep her back to the wall. Or better yet, grab the gem and run outside to Adam so that they can finally link up and perform the ritual. Why the hell is she hanging around in the demon's basement lair, reading Cassandra's old letters? She's already found the gem. Mission accomplished. Time to go. Meanwhile, Adam goes back inside to grab more paintings for the bonfire, but finds all the figures gone, which honestly is kind of expected. Once the paintings saw him wheeling them out into the yard for a barbecue, They probably jumped ship and started plotting how to tune his up the moment he came back inside. Leonora did mention that not all the spirits were necessarily evil. It probably would have been smarter to leave the paintings alone altogether. Just run in, grab the gem, get out. Adam basically just kicked the hornet's nest. Oh my god, Evelyn's still in the cellar reading notes, completely oblivious to the paintings behind her morphing from scenic landscapes into human figures. The
there's
cellar
not
door
much.
slams
There's no
shut
more.
and her candle blows out. Adam hears Evelyn screaming, rushes back over, and finds the cellar door jammed shut. He shoves his arm through a gap, grabs her hand, and yanks her out to safety. Together, they finish burning the rest of the paintings on the front lawn. Then suddenly, they just go home. Wait, I thought that they were gonna attempt the ritual. Why are they going home? I guess they figured that they could do it at home. Cassandra's spirits did follow them, so technically the ritual should still work. Probably safer too. Evelyn launches into the big backstory info dump on the way. It's a curse that started with Ivor Franco. He was the most gifted spiritualist of his time, famous for summoning paintings of the dead. He met Cassandra. They got married, and then she became terminally ill. She begged him to make her one of the paintings so they could live together forever. So he prepared a bewitched painting as a place where their spirits could exist. After her death, he planned to conduct a ritual to bind his own soul to the painting and join her. But when it came time to prove his undying love, he didn't go through with it. He abandoned Cassandra, leaving her trapped and alone. So she cursed Ivor and all his descendants and became a demon.
Oh wait, I didn't buy it.
She's been
I didn't pay
possessing
for it
the men
yet.
to kill the women, generation after generation. Adam, looking incredibly guilty, admits she wanted to get inside of me. When Evelyn demands to know what he's talking about, Janice suddenly comes running up to their door, screaming that Nelson has Lucy locked in the basement. Adam grabs the key from the kitchen drawer.
Oh,
goes to unlock
Adam.
it. Wait, why didn't Janice just grab the basement key from the kitchen drawer herself? She had to know it was there. Maybe she didn't want to fight the demon herself. Oh yeah, I totally forgot where the basement key was. Such a shame. I could have fought the Nelson to bust off in time to save Lucy. Oh well, luckily, instead of immediately strangling Lucy, the demon Nelson rummages around for a screwdriver, giving Lucy enough time to escape into her giant cardboard box fort and for Adam to rush downstairs and fight him off. Once he gets Lucy free, they bolt back upstairs and lock the door. Adam yells that they have to start the ritual now. Adam and Evelyn get the easel up, barricade the door, and throw Cassandra's original painting onto the canvas. They're preparing to try the same ritual that Clive tried at the beginning of this whole mess. Evelyn says one more thing. As soon as we lift the curse, we have to unbind her soul from the painting. Adam asks how. She replies, we burn it. Okay. So the ritual lifts the curse, but like only momentarily? I don't know guys, Clive did the same thing and it most certainly did not work. Just gonna throw this out there, but why not try smashing Cassandra's ruby to pieces? Her gem is an anchor to the physical world, which is why they're using it for the ceremony. Painting her just seems like giving her another portal to the physical world. The ritual hinges on transferring Cassandra's spirit into something physical. The ruby is her personal link. Smashing it could theoretically prevent her from re-manifesting or
Something I'm not
another
having
canvas.
right
Honestly,
now.
with how
There he is.
simple this ritual is. Canvas, paint, candles, sentimental object. I'm shocked that more people don't try this on their own. Anyway, Nelson storms the barricade, cuts power to the house, and plunges everyone into total darkness. Adam pulls the drape off the easel, revealing the succubus's full form. Their attempts to resummon Cassandra to the painting fails. Can't say I'm surprised. She's already painted, already has a physical portal to the world, already is possessing Nelson, and already witnessed Clive trying to pull this same assassination tactic on her. She has no reason to go along with your little ritual. So here's their new plan. Summon Ivor Franco's spirit into Cassandra's painting to finally reunite them, hoping she'll stop killing everyone. Except it doesn't work. Also unsurprisingly, according to the book, the spirit has to be a willing participant. Why would Ivor willingly show up to join Cassandra after she turned into a total demon and murdered him, his his descendants. Also, don't they need Ivor's personal item maker for the ritual? The gem is Cassandra's, and she's already summoned and painted. Realizing that their plan has no shot, Adam goes
Cheesecake,
with
cheesecake,
plan C.
cheesecake,
He
cheesecake.
removes
Why are
Cassandra's
you doing
gem,
cheesecake
places
nonstop? Oh,
his
vegan
item
pasta
in the
now.
middle of
Oh,
the
nice.
circle. Adam admits that he's ironically
Huh, you know what? Okay.
this succubus, stabs himself in the gut, and begs Evelyn to paint him into
You
the
want them
picture
to
so that
eat
he can join Cassandra and
the
pacify
healthy
her with his
and
love. Shortly
pour them
after,
with sugar
he
at the same
passes
time.
away in her arms. Glad we talked this strategy through before you plunged a knife into your stomach.
No, all I have to do now is wait to get as much money
His wife
and
didn't
upgrade
love
the
him.
rooms,
His business
painting
was
them.
failing. He's basically the perfect target for a succubus. In his head, he's thinking Cassandra was totally into him, and he's willing to throw himself on top of those 2 large hand grenades if it means that she'll leave his family alone. Which is where his plan falls apart massively, because it doesn't. Cassandra's not gonna get over centuries of rage over her lover abandoning her to eternity just because some broke middle-aged loser started simping for her. Obviously, this is all a part of her desire to destroy their lives. He should have at least waited until after they tried burning Cassandra's painting again. Might not work, probably won't work. Burning hasn't, except this time Nelson is currently possessed, and they did run the ritual again. Too late, Evelyn has no choice but to carry out the ritual. It's a success. Adam's spirit gets painted next to Cassandra. Cassandra transforms from her monstrous snake-armed reptile form back into her normal, loving human appearance.
Your love has broken the curse and freed my soul. I'll never have to kill again.
Nelson finishes breaking through the barricade and looks up, seemingly free, until he starts smiling sinisterly.
I'm just screwing with you.
The Nelson Cubist starts strangling Evelyn to death. Luckily, Janice and Lucy completely ignored their parents' order to stay away from the house until morning and not come back under any circumstances. And by God, is their timing perfect. Janice runs in, reaching for the lighter,
It's not done.
flicks it on, and hurls it in the painting. Somehow, the flames are contained in just the Cassandra side of the painting, banishing only her and leaving their papa unscathed.
Their
Why
papa.
this suddenly works when burning her portrait before didn't, I have no idea. Apparently, whatever half-assed part of the ritual that they managed to complete worked. Maybe because in the process of Adam being painted, Cassandra also repainted herself, which was enough of a manifestation in connection with Janice that burning it actually worked this time. I don't know. Nelson's freed from possession, and all the Elsters, with the exception of Adam's third Sebas, survive. He actually committed seppuku for a ghost who never loved him and was sent into a fiery hell minutes later, leaving him stuck inside of a painting. Then to throw salt in the wound, his ex-wife drops him off at Leonora's basement with all the other painted creeps. Adam is gonna be pissed, stuck with no women, no newlyweds, no hustlers, in some dusty old basement while Evelyn goes on living her best life. Just like Ivor did to Cassandra before him, setting the same cursed cycle in motion all over again. Adam is 100% going to turn into a rampaging demon. If I was Evelyn, I would preemptively redo the ritual and then burn his painting, or whatever the they did to banish Cassandra. The movie ends with a post-credits scene of the barber's painting having survived. Ultimately, I'd say that without plot armor, being incredibly inexperienced in demon hunting, and the shifty rules surrounding the ritual, evil spirits, and generally burning the paintings, they would have all been killed. Even though they all survived, Adam is 100% going to turn vengeful once Evelyn finds a new husband in a couple weeks. So I'd say the ink demons in the painting were unbeaten. Moral of the story, leave the dead alone. Thanks to Fume for sponsoring this video. If If everyone in your high school got possessed by a mind control parasite with you next in line, what would you do? They need lots of water, which means warm hosts like you. They replicate quickly and spread by crawling into your orifices. The situation quickly gets out of hand, but they have one weakness: kill the queen, if you can find her in time. I'm going to break down the mistakes made, what you should do, and how to beat brain slugs in the faculty. Let's just say you don't want to get detention in this place. After a late night budget meeting reveals they're pretty much hosed on anything unrelated to football, Principal Drake is locking up the school on her way home. Having forgotten her keys at her desk, she heads back into the darkened corridors of Harrington High all alone, so she thinks. Suddenly, Coach Willis comes out of nowhere. He's a little close for comfort. There's something off about him. He's a little too complimentary, but not in a let's you and I get it on kind of way. More like in there's an alien parasite working my body like a meat puppet kind of way. Mrs. Drake accuses him of being drunk, tries to brush him aside, but he won't bud. Evidently, he really wants a pencil. So she finally gives him one, and he gives it right back. Me, what the hell was that thing made out of? Mrs. Drake slashes him across the face with her keys and takes off into the hallway, which he's really gonna regret here in about 2 minutes. She heads back to the main entrance, but finds it chained shut. Damn, looks like all the doors in this place are chained shut. Is this place strapped for cash so they can't afford actual locks on the doors? You know, the kind that's unlocked from the inside when there's a fire, or you're being chased around by a pencil-pushing psycho? Desperate to find an escape route, the principal ducks into a nearby science lab and tries to open one of the windows, but before she can gingerly lift it open, Coach Willis comes in whistling into the room at full speed. Fortunately, there's plenty of available classrooms to come up with. Don't stop now, jam those fucking scissors into his eye socket. Dude is clearly trying to kill you. He's stronger, faster, and crazier, and you've got a fucked up hand. This is probably the only opportunity we're gonna get to neutralize the threat. About the only other option would be to lock yourself in one of the rooms and climb out a window. Oh right, you used your keys as a weapon and then you dropped them, didn't you? That's why you go straight for the scissors. She sprints back to the nearest exit, which he already knows is chained shut, but what the hell, right? Just outside, she finds the drama teacher, Mrs. Olson, waiting to be let back in for some reason. Drake slams into the door, begs the teacher to unlock it, but the old thespian doesn't have her keys, because otherwise she would have just let herself in.
Let me get help! No, don't leave me!
What the hell do you expect her to do? Act him to death? If she can't open the door to let you out or get inside to help fend off the attacker, then what good is she? We're better off with her going to flag someone down who hopefully EDC's an 870 master key, as this is way before cell phones took over the world. With no sign of Coach Willis, Miss Drake returns to her office to retrieve her keys. Wait a minute, why not just lock yourself in your office and call the cops? Sure, he can try to reach in through the half window, but he'll be pretty damn vulnerable when he does. Just start wailing on him with a fire extinguisher or one of those trophies. Suddenly, Mrs. Olson sounds the alarm, and the race is on. It's a good thing he's slow as fuck. You could have chewed through that block in the time it took him to get down that hall. Drake finally manages to free herself and slams the door in Coach's face, but it's not over yet. She still has to secure the chain, which would be a lot easier if you got off your ass, Granny. Damn. After fighting like hell against the door, Mrs. Drake finally manages to snap the lock shut, trapping the threat inside. Except, something's not quite right with Mrs. Olson. Drama lady's in on it too. Damn, who could have seen that coming? I guess we really should have found the budget for guys and dolls. This is one of those situations that comes down to a single, seemingly minor mistake costing you everything. Had we initially armed ourselves with literally anything but our keys, you know, the ones we need to get in and out of the building, we probably could have escaped out the locked doors before Mrs. Olson could ever show up to screw us over. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Then why do they tell people to hold their keys between their knuckles in scary places? Because they're stupid. You should hold on to your keys when you're scared so you can quickly transition into a car or a house or whatever. But using them in some kind of Wolverine punch is likely to fuck your hand up or fuck the keys up and actually make a difference against an attacker. Mrs. Drake had a coffee mug full of potential weapons at her disposal from the very beginning. Coach was just dropping red flags all over the place before he divvied out the lead injection. We could have grabbed the scissors or some of those adamantium pencils to create some distance the moment he entered her bubble, all mysterious-like.
Damn it! God damn it! You get better than rock!
Dude, clearly has a known history of unhinged behavior. I don't think anyone would be surprised to find out he taught a Ticonderoga tri-rite to the long for getting aggressive after hours. That said, there was definitely something off about him even before the shit hit the fan. Must be something in the water. Fast forward a bit, and it looks like budget shortfalls are the least of Harrington Hines' concerns. I mean, look at this hellhole. Girls fist fighting in the streets, boys ramming hobbits into poles, this poser slinging fake IDs and carpet fresh in the bathroom. I remember high school. I also remember cheap body spray. I can confidently say that's not what happens. Is this where I bring up Semper? No, you shouldn't be dosing your neck with Ronnie Gabais as an awkward late bloomer sitting in the back of your social studies class either. Not that kids learning how to drive is the target audience for sophisticated colognes anyways. I'm talking to the men who have completed their indoctrination, left their parents' homes to start their very own Netflix show in a luxury studio apartment, paid for by their corpo job. Here we go. Sempered is a place to begin or deepen your relationship with fragrances, discover your style, and express your individuality. Scentbird lets you choose a new designer fragrance to try every month for just $17. Every month, you get to pick what you want to receive, so there's no surprises. With each fragrance, you'll get a 30-day supply, so you can try out fragrances before committing to a 3-digit dollar full-size bottle. This month, I received Joseph Aboud's Modern Gentleman. Perfect for dates because its masculine blend will make you actually smell like a man. Parfums de Marly Paris is... It's the 90s. As lunch... A little over $7 for your first month. Available in the USA and Canada. Thanks Semper for sponsoring this video. Check out my links below.
Scat. My own recipe.
Scat means regular people forced to do the bidding of an because you're also a reptile. Delilah tells them to just ask some. I think I'd start throwing up. Spent enough time bullying people to the point that they walk around staring at the ground all day actually benefits human discovery. Stewart suggests they send it off to a university so they can maybe get in on some of that sweet federal grant money. Just then, somebody spills a beaker of water on their little cash cow, which seems to bring it back to life. Holy, this could be the single greatest thing to ever come out of this town. Hey, I know. Let's dump it in an aquarium to see what happens. Look, it's evolving. Oh, and now they're replicating, and there's 2 of them in a matter of a minute. Yeah, that. I like this thing better when it looked like a sun-dried tomato. Please tell me you're not going to touch it with nothing but a thin natural glove, are you? I mean, for all we know, it's got acid for blood. And it bit you. Awesome. Can't wait to see how this plays out. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with you people? A brand new sea creature turns up on a football field in the Midwest, and your first reaction is to drown it and then shake its hand? Just put this thing on ice and send it off to MIT or whatever. Let them get brain slugged. Over at the pool, Stan Darsh is telling Coach Willis he's quitting the football team to focus on school the day before their biggest game of the season. I'm sure that's going to go over well.
You seem to be going through some life-defining turning point. I'm not going to stand in the way of the human condition. You do what you have to do.
Alright, obviously Stan Darsh has no way of knowing about Coach Willis's extracurricular activities, but as captain of the football team, he's almost certainly spent enough time around him to recognize this behavior as completely out of character. Still, it's hardly enough to jump to the conclusion that there's evil afoot. I'd probably just look out for the oncoming tidal wave of brutal hazing we'll receive from our former teammates at his behest. With that out of the way, young Darsh hits the showers. What's wrong with your feet? Oh, it's just the elderly Mrs. Brumel here for a casual shower hug with an underage student. Good thing she has tenure. I think something's wrong with her. I know she's a nice old lady, but I think I'd start throwing elbows and roundhouse kicks. That is Space Cooties if I've ever seen it, and the small blurb you'll get at the end of the yearbook is not worth sticking around to find out if it's contagious. Sometime later, Stan and Frodo are in the principal's office after getting help for their zombified teacher, which, at this point, couldn't amount to more than a nice brick wall to stare at while they put a hollow point in the back of her skull, if it hadn't already fallen off. I mean, did you see that? For some reason, the person coming to address their concerns over this nightmare is the significantly less stuffy version of Mrs. Olsen. Apparently, Mrs. Brumel has cancer, and she's under a lot of medication that makes her disoriented. Oh, is that all? Oh, okay, I guess I'll just forget about this and not be mentally scarred for life. And that's total bull. What the hell is she taking? Battery acid?
Yeah, keep it quiet.
You god moron. You should have stayed on the football team, because there's definitely no hope for you in the classroom. Nothing about that was okay. It'd be one thing if it didn't look like she'd been left in the microwave for too long. Confusion from medical side effects is a thing that happens, sure. This was not that. Later that afternoon, Frodo and classic friend Delilah are roaming the halls in search of a scoop for the school newspapers. The young hobbit suggests maybe going with the fact that he discovered a new species of cephalopod while nosing around in the football field, but that's lame. Let's just stick to who got caught making out under the bleachers. Oh, or what about the fact that I saw one of the teachers melt while hugging another student in the shower? Are you not gonna bring that up? Wait, what the hell are they doing nosing around in the teacher's lounge? Wouldn't publishing anything you find here only serve as evidence that you were sneaking around in off-limits territory? Uh-oh, looks like a member of the faculty is coming to use the faculty lounge. Who could have seen that coming? Good thing we're not rifling through purses and people's belongings so they can accuse us of theft. We should have posted a sentry at the door to install any incoming teachers and surreptitiously warn us to run for cover. Oh well, probably would have ended up with us just hiding in the broom closet all the same. Maybe now we'll catch something juicy. The door swings open, and in walks Mrs. Olson and Coach Willis, who both immediately start slamming down water like it's their f***ing job.
Where's Brummel?
She didn't make it. Her body was too old.
Yo, are you idiots hearing this lizard speak? Of course not. The teachers go on to discuss the status of the general population. It's not looking good. Test scores are in free fall. Most of the faculty has been commuted, whatever the f that means. Oh god, commie reptiles. It's the worst kind, and it sounds like they're working their way through the student body too. Suddenly, in walks Salma Hayek, and it's pretty clear neither of her colleagues appreciated her performance in Wild Wild West, and they're gonna commute her too. This seems like a hostile work environment. Hey Frodo, why the f aren't you photographing this show? Oh, look, it's Mrs. Brumel. Damn, they weren't kidding. She was old as hell. She'd probably photograph that too. But when you inevitably try to blow the lid on this conspiracy, but nobody believes you because you're just a bunch of dumb kids. It seems years of sleuthing never prepared Delilah for finding a literal skeleton in someone's closet, and her whimpers attract the attention of Coach Willis. He closes in to yank the door open, but before he can, Frodo comes charging out with a leveled broomstick to clean his ass up, and the two tear out of there, narrowly escaping Mrs. Hayek in the process. Those brain slugs are fast acting. They run into Principal Drake. I'd say she's probably been up to a fair bit of body snatching too. Instead of blowing right past them, running for their lives because a trio of worm-spewing monsters are right behind them, Frodo and Delilah stop and hastily spell out everything that just went down, which is apparently no big deal until they get to the part about finding Mrs. Brumel in the faculty closet.
Then we found her body in the faculty.
What were you doing in the faculty closet?
Dude, why does that matter? Oh wait, it's because you're also a reptile. Delilah tells them to just ask Salma Hayek, who's standing right behind them, like someone who didn't just have a sea monster burrow into her brain. You gotta be kidding me. She literally just tried to attack you. Do you honestly think she's gonna back up your story? Just get out of there. You heard the lizard people talk. Most of the faculty is already infected. We shouldn't assume anyone is gonna do anything for us besides Hawk a loogie in our ear. Hell, we pretty much can't be trusting anyone at this point. For all we know, Harrington High is the last place on Earth that hasn't already been commuted. We all saw assimilation, right?
Delilah, wait!
Run much? Now we're probably gonna have to head into the deep woods and start our own survivalist compound. We're gonna need enough guns, ammo, cat food, and tinfoil to last us the rest of our lives. Better head to Walmart on the way out. Then again, that was probably ground zero. Sometime later, Baggins decides to head back to school. God, no one's gonna believe you. Not the cops, not your parents, and you know why? It's because you didn't take any pictures. He confidently marches them over to the faculty lounge and points a finger at the closet, which obviously no longer has Mrs. Brumel's body in it because they found you hiding in there. Of course they're gonna swap it out with a CPR dummy.
They attacked Nurse Harper.
Nurse Harper is epileptic. She's prone to ground falls.
You know who speaks in turns like that? Reptiles. Good work, short stack. Now your parents and the local law enforcement think you're either crazy or smoking the lazy leaf. Should have waited until you had some kind of evidence to support your claims. If only there was some way to capture the light reflecting off people and objects and immortalize them onto some kind of physical medium. But as far as I know, no such invention has ever existed. Darn. Oh great, the cop is going into Principal Drake's office by himself. And now he's acting weird. Awesome. You've just spread the brain slug infection to the town's supply of heavily armed men. I'm sure this won't have immediate, far-reaching consequences that jeopardize all of human existence. The good news is we've learned something about the infected that can help us determine friend from foe.
I know I'm human. If you were all these things, then you just attack me right now.
That's right. We need flamethrowers. You always need flamethrowers. Seriously though, we know Elijah's adoptive parents aren't infected, as they probably would have slugged us on the way over. Same goes for at least one of the cops. Otherwise, they'd probably hold us at gunpoint and forcefully commute us. We also know that Delilah wasn't commuted last time we saw her, since she would have tried something while we were getting cozy in the broom closet. It's by no means perfect, as we only know who's who by whether or not they try to tongue punch our eardrums. But to start, the next day, despite his pleas, Frodo's parents force him to go back to school. Although, to be honest, he really didn't try hard enough. Should have faked a medical emergency or even staged one. Hell, they already think you're losing your mind. How hard could it be to get them to keep you home for a bit while you sort yourself out? Then again, the last thing we need is to wind up in a straitjacket with the plot of Assimilate playing all around us in real time. We'd probably be better off just ditching class while we look for someone to help us out. As soon as we walk into the school, a very incognito Delilah ambushes him and drags him into a nearby bathroom. Sounds like they're onto her.
James Archuleta, Tina Danhausen, and Delilah Crawford.
Although it's weird they're calling in the other two students. You'd think they'd want to get her all by herself. Speaking of which, Baggins has taken a big risk sneaking off into the girls' bathroom with her. We don't know where she's been. Evidently, Delilah's white wine zombie mom didn't believe her either. And with the police out of the question after Frodo's major fail, their only option is to find others they can trust who aren't infected. There has to be a substantial percentage of the student population that's slug-free. Otherwise, Baggins would have been mobbed the second you walked into the front door. Problem is, we've yet to devise any kind of test that we can use to weed out the weirdos. I mean, judging by what we saw from Coach Willis and Mrs. Olsen, excessive water consumption seems to be a common factor among the freaks. But yeah, staying hydrated is kind of something we all gotta do to live. So where exactly do we draw the line? I guess we'll just have to keep an eye out for anyone trying to pull the gallon challenge without the promise of a free Nintendo Wii. Meanwhile, in history class, Mr. Tate rolls out the new curriculum.
Take out a piece of paper and write down the name of every living member of your family.
Who is your daddy and what does he do?
Yeah, I bet you'd like that, Mr. Tate. The good news is that there's no way for them to really verify this, even if it weren't part of an alien conspiracy to take over the world. It's also an indication that they really haven't made that much progress if they're relying on the students to unknowingly narc on their uninfected family members.
Is this gonna be on the test?
Jesus, dude. Think much? Again, should have stuck to throwing balls. After class, Stan and Stokely head out to the hall to find a huge line of students waiting outside the nurse's office. Apparently, they're conducting some kind of wide-scale ear exam, which somehow involves the police. For what purpose, who knows? Just blindly obey your bureaucratic babysitters. Drones. Unfortunately, Stan and Stokely can't exactly know this is part of a plot for world domination, but it's still pretty weird. And given the other weird shit that's been going on, we should try and dig a little deeper. I'd wait until I saw someone I know come out of there and ask them what was going on. If they start speaking in tongues or falling...
Oh, you're back.
Apart like Mrs. Brumel, then we'll at least know to stay away from our ear exam. Delilah swoops in and steals Stan by the arm to let him know how screwed they are. Oh, yeah, they're boyfriend and girlfriends, by the way. This leaves Frodo and Stokely out in the cold, so naturally they pair off to have a similar conversation.
Aliens have just been setting us up over the years, creating this happy little make-believe existence with their E.T. and their Men in Black movies just so that nobody would believe it if it really happened. I think so.
All right. His execution needs some work, but he's ultimately able to get the point across. She's not entirely convinced, but she's willing to play along until they figure out why everyone's acting so weird. Based on what he's told her so far, the next thing they need to figure out is what's turning everyone into pop.
I gotta get back to cleaning now. Good luck.
Well, I needed a...
Hot
Okay.
people. Frodo's risking a lot sharing with...
What did you wanna do?
Oh, yeah, I want to play the Wii. Yeah. Because I'm waiting for my pizza to cook. Okay, nice. How am I doing this almost perfectly without looking at it? I don't know.
Actually, while you get all that ready, I'm gonna put my laundry in the washing machine and I'll come back.
Okay.
So I can at least get stuff done while I'm playing too.
Wow, all of the rooms are booked. That's crazy. What do you mean too many staff are waiting for the... I pay all! Every fucking time, what? Ah non. Mais c'est pas le timer du...
Ah, c'est la pause. Ah. C'est quoi que t'as mis là-dessus?
Une pizza. Ouais.
Non, c'est tout, le mandat qui veut t'en faire un peu.
Non.
C'est bon.
Oh,
Are you still into your game, or?
huh? No, I'm waiting. I'm waiting.
Okay, 'cause I gotta hurry. 'Cause my brother just showed up, but we're supposed to take out a lot of boxes and shit, so.
Whoa, dang. Annoying. I'm sorry. Shit.
I'm sorry too. You wanna see if we can do the game fast, or do you wanna wait till?
No, I don't know. Because I'm really hungry. And I'm waiting for my pizza, so I don't know how long I have left. No, we can do it now if Molly lets me.
Or actually, let me just run everything out there. I don't know.
You're not on something.